This was a schematic for an ultimate disaster that could wipe out an entire age, yet what it produced was an innocent, charming girl. He assumed this was merely the ultimate disaster's disguise, and the chest before him was just a power-storing energy sac. But after poking it a few times, he concluded she was just a regular human girl. Io immediately crumbled. Where was the left arm of the Ember Angel he spent 80 million to implant? Where was the Jade Empress's Eye of Sorrow he worked so hard to obtain? And where was the most treasured perpetual heart? Just then, the ultimate disaster opened her eyes. The assistant was about to remind Iso, but it was too late. He saw Iso's major artery bitten through by the ultimate disaster, blood gushing like a fountain. Witnessing this, the assistant remarked, "Perscalid family's current head, rest easy. I'll take over your estate." Hearing this, Iso cursed, "You jerk. I'm going to stuff every abyssal egg into your cheese stash later." The big rat exclaimed in shock, "That's so cruel, but surprisingly, you're not dead." It turned out that the blood earlier wasn't real. Iso declared, "I'm the greatest alchemical genius of the century. How could I fall victim to my own experiment? I had you mix my liquid soul extract into the ultimate disaster's cultivation fluid earlier, so my soul has a natural connection to her. She wouldn't dare harm me." The big rat scratched his chin, puzzled. "I don't recall that." He only remembered that night he got wasted. Iso had handed him a bottle to mix with the ultimate disaster's cultivation fluid. It smelled a bit sweet, so he mixed it with his alcohol instead. The big rat face-palmed and said, "We're doomed." At that moment, Iso commanded, "Ultimate disaster, I command you as your master to get off me." But the ultimate disaster not only stayed put, she kept staring at him. Then she opened her mouth and leaned closer. The next moment, the ultimate disaster actually extended her tongue and licked him. Iso's face turned visibly red. But that wasn't the end. The ultimate disaster licked him again. Iso's face turned a deep crimson. He quickly shoved the female disaster away, then yelled at the big rat, "I've been exposed, you smelly rat. Get me the purification spray." Then he pressed a button. Under the female disaster's bewildered gaze, he sealed her back inside. The female disaster felt trapped and instantly panicked. Only then did Iso properly disinfect himself. Suddenly, he remembered something. That girl. He began searching through the cabinet. Shortly after, he found a document detailing the original subject of the ultimate disaster experiment. Sure enough, this woman was the original subject of the ultimate disaster experiment. Human 2252. The big rat said, "Now I recall. She's that dying girl we rescued last year. No wonder she looked familiar. Wait, I thought subject 225 had purple hair. Why is it blonde now?" Iso said, "That's the exact issue, and her personality seems altered as well." A year ago at Golden City's White Queen Bank, in the obscure ventilation shaft sat a biochemical bomb. As the timer hit 0, the bomb released a biochemical toxic gas. Meanwhile, in the bank's restroom, the big rat noted, "The dragon spider toxin should have been released sufficiently." Iso smirked, "Really? Well, let's get this party started." The two armored up and stormed into the bank. Inside, the bank was suffocating with toxic gas. All the patrons were out cold. A guard growled, "Who dares to rob the White Queen Bank? Do you have any idea who runs this place?" Iso shot the guard without hesitation, stating, "I honestly don't care." In an instant, the guard transformed into a puddle of slime. Iso remarked, "You're much cuter this way, trust me." Meanwhile, a huge rat approached a mother and her child. The frightened mother pleaded, "Take whatever you want, just don't hurt me." The massive rat replied, "You've got it." He snatched the lollipop from the boy's hand, declaring, "Strawberry milk flavor, my absolute favorite." Devastated, the boy began to wail. At that moment, Iso hung up a closed sign and secured the bank's entrance. The rat used a thermal gun to obliterate the glass counter. Once inside the vault, Iso planted a bomb on the door. An ear-splitting explosion echoed. Then they found a vault bursting with cash. They fist-bumped. "Let's take it all, big bad guys." Later that evening, the duo stood on a rooftop, celebrating like kings. Suddenly, a gunshot pierced the night. Alarmed, they ducked for cover. The big rat exclaimed, "Who fired that shot? Did the Safety Inspection Bureau catch wind of us?" Iso replied, "Nah, that shot's not from the Bureau's standard issue. It sounds more like a heavy-duty revolver." Meanwhile, in a dark alley, an elderly man puffed on a cigarette, clutching a handgun. He was none other than Golden City Safety Inspection Bureau, Lighthouse District Branch Chief and City Hero, Bullet Gentleman Hull, and before him lay a woman, her limbs mangled, desperately crawling forward. The big rat questioned, "We pulled a heist in Hulk's territory. Why isn't he on our tail but busy here with a wounded woman?" Iso whispered, "Sheesh, just hear what this guy is saying." H-Mach interjected, "Why isn't he pursuing us but instead cutting off someone else with lost limbs here?" Iso remarked, "Shash, pay heed to what this dude is saying." H-Mach replied, "You really are something, Hellhound Unit member. Even in that sorry state, you managed to take out 5 of my first-level detectives. But now, all you can do is crawl like a dog. Now spill it. Where's the Hellhound Unit's assassination roster stashed?" The woman only shot Halmil a defiant glare in response to his threats. Just then, Halm chuckled. "I almost forgot. The Hellhound unit had each member's vocal cords removed for discretion. How pathetic. At that moment, the woman pulled something out from behind her. Homuk fired at her hand, saying, "Really? You're still trying to play tricks in your condition? Bad girl." The object she tried to reveal was a teddy bear doll. Hum sneered, "You think the roster is hidden in this beat-up teddy bear?" As she reached for it with her injured hand, she could only manage a desperate ah sound. Halm struck her head with the butt of his gun, saying, "Looks like this dirty little bear means a lot to you. I'll return it to you. All right." He tossed the teddy bear in front of her and then shot its head off with a single bullet. Immediately, the alley was filled with heart-wrenching screams from the woman. Homok declared, "Forget it. Can't retrieve the roster. Bringing back your corpse might score me a reward anyway." Just then, applause echoed through the dark. Who would have thought that the so-called justice of the city hero, Hamel, was just another money-hungry fool? Without hesitation, he turned his gun towards the newcomer, ready for anything. Iso declared, "Who's there?" Then he added, "I am the most nefarious criminal of Golden City and this century's supreme alchemist, Baron Iso." The hefty rat coughed twice. Iso quickly interjected, "Forgot to introduce. With me stands my primary accomplice, Dr. Mad Rat." The big rat corrected, "Not accomplice, but crime partner. We share an equal footing. Furthermore, it's the enigmatic and insane Dr. Mad Rat." The two then kicked off a heated debate on this. Iso shot back, "Why so verbose?" The big rat retorted, "I enjoy it. What's it to you?" Hom impatiently chimed in, "I have no time for childish games. If you bother me again, you won't see your mothers." Iso stated, "Looks like we've been underestimated. Show him our accomplishment." They then flung the loot they had seized from the bank onto the ground. Hmuk spotted the 2 bags of money and immediately realized, stating, "So you two are the ones who robbed the White Queen Bank at twilight." Hearing this, the duo immediately puffed their chests with pride. Homok remarked, "Boasting about one's criminal deeds to cater to twisted desires or achieve some psychological gratification is a sign of inner weakness and insecurity. Criminals with such traits are usually second-rate rookies." Following that, he raised his gun, declaring, "I dislike wasting bullets on rookies since each one is quite dear, but today I'll make an exception. As a gentleman, I'll offer you 3 seconds to escape." Iso replied, "No need, just shoot. I want to witness the refined marksmanship of Golden City's premier gun god." Homok responded, "Then your wish is my command." As he aimed to pull the trigger, he found his finger paralyzed. Why wouldn't the trigger budge as if it were jammed? Suddenly, he sensed the gun feeling enormously heavy. In the next moment, he couldn't even keep his footing. Only then did he spot a bottle of green poison in the money bag, releasing gas. Iso declared with pride, and only then did he realize too late, muscle cell neural interference gas, codename Weakener. In a 300 ppm environment, humans require merely 8 seconds of exposure to start succumbing, and you've been inhaling for over a minute. Hilk's expression turned grim as he questioned, "What are you aiming for? Are you attempting to save this woman?" Eso scoffed, "We're wicked villains. How could we dream of saving anyone?" He then shot Homok in the head, declaring, "We simply have a disdain for city heroes." Then Homok transformed into green slime and scurried away. The big rat didn't pursue, stating, "Even a silver hero license holder is just this capable." He clapped his hands, commanding, "Clear the scene. Let's gear up to head back." But Iso knelt beside the woman. Observing this, the big rat asked, "What are you doing?" Iso replied, "I'm studying how long this woman can hang on. Her left arm and leg severed, wounds now festering. Her right palm pierced by a bullet, ribs nearly shattered, right eye blinded. Fingernails all ripped out, vocal cords charred, heartbeat erratic, heart showing failure signs. Lastly, no fewer than 4 types of potent toxins were found in her blood. It's astonishing she's still alive. I'm really intrigued about her identity. The Safety Inspection Bureau couldn't possibly use such merciless methods on ordinary civilians." The big rat said impatiently, "Regardless, she won't last long. Why bother? Let's get moving. You don't genuinely want to save this woman, do you?" Io quickly denied, "I'm Golden City's most wicked villain. Claiming I'm saving lives? Are you mocking me?" The big rat replied, "You freaked me out. I genuinely thought you aimed to rescue her. Then let's move fast." Just before heading out, he took a final glance and spotted the woman crawling. What was her game, he pondered. Never mind. Each day in this city, people are left to decay in dark corners. What's it to me anyway? In that instant, lightning split the sky, thunder boomed, and the rain began to pour. They unfurled their umbrellas and pressed on, but the woman remained fixated ahead. There lay a broken teddy bear doll. With every ounce of strength, she pushed forward and finally reached the bear. Cradling it in her arms, an unexpected smile broke through. Then, beaming, she shut her eyes, allowing the frigid rain to drench her. At that moment, a foot appeared beside her. It was Iso, returned. Inside the operating room, the big rat donned surgical attire and leaned in with questions. "Iso, do you even know what we're up to right now?" Iso replied flatly, "We're performing surgery." The rat's eyes surged with anger. "We're saving someone? When did you start this saving people nonsense? Have you forgotten our goals?" Iso answered, "I haven't forgotten our aim to be the ultimate villains, to make the world experience the horror and grandeur of the Persad family again." But first, we need to craft a biochemical weapon, so potent it could obliterate the world and even challenge the gods. The ultimate disaster. To encapsulate the ultimate disaster's host, we must harness all extreme negative feelings, but crucially, retain a hint of the purest beauty buried deep within the soul. That's the key to mastering the ultimate disaster. We failed countless tests simply due to lacking that element. And this woman coincidentally fulfills every prerequisite, the rat noted. But her injuries are severe. She could die at any second. ISO stated, so we need to dive straight into the ultimate disaster experiment. You handle the transplants. I'll prepare the fetal blood from the cocoon of despair. The rat snapped his fingers, signaling all was good. The transplants arrived. Ember Angel's withered left arm, the Jade Empress's mournful right eye, the artificial heart improved Model 3, and the deep-fried fetal blood of the cocoon of despair. Ready. ISO slipped on gloves, declaring, let's start crafting a miracle. They toiled for over 400 days. Who could have guessed the strongest biochemical weapon, the ultimate disaster they forged, would be a cute little girl? The big rat asked what was next. ISO replied, tomorrow morning we commence routine procedures, observation, cultivation, testing. The big rat questioned, what if she ends up being a flop? ISO replied, then she gets destroyed. I won't keep a failed experiment. Yet that night, as sleep beckoned, the day's memories replayed in his head, causing him to toss and turn, restless. Finally, he resolved to rise and check on the ultimate disaster. Approaching the cultivation tank, he found this one was surprisingly obedient, though her body quivered like a frightened little creature. ISO was taken aback. Could the formidable ultimate disaster truly be scared of sleeping alone at night? He turned to leave, muttering, what's it to me? Just a test subject, and a defective one to boot. But then he halted, recalling that moment today when she licked him in her current anxious state. He bit his lip and let out a resigned sigh. He pressed the red button, lifting the glass cover, announcing, step out, ultimate calamity. I'm about to take you to an awesome place to catch some Z's. Before long, ISO escorted the girl to the 7th level of the base's nightmare nest, the high-risk subject observation zone. High-risk experiment subject number 8. The malevolent dragon roared upon spotting ISO. ISO, once I break free, I'll devour you whole. High-risk experiment subject number 15. The abyss demon eye threatened. ISO, I'll pierce through your very soul, then torment your essence. ISO chuckled. Among my high-risk subjects, numbers 8 and 15 are the jolliest. With those two around, you surely won't feel fear anymore. The girl found herself trapped between the two formidable subjects. She grew terrified again, but ISO had already waved goodbye, saying, you all behave yourselves. I'm off to dreamland. Back in his quarters, ISO felt significantly more relaxed. The ultimate calamity shouldn't be alone anymore and can at last enjoy a good night's sleep. Meanwhile, the evil dragon sneered. What about this human girl makes her worthy of being caged with powerful beings like us? The abyss demon eye replied, who knows? What makes this human girl deserving of confinement alongside us, the formidable ones? The abyss demon eye retorted, how should I know? I think I just heard that jerk ISO claim she's the ultimate calamity. The evil dragon let out a hearty laugh at this. This tiny, ant-like human is truly the ultimate calamity. The abyss demon eye cackled in mockery. Previously, ISO had at least managed to create some formidable creatures worth noticing. This time, he actually came up with a mere human. It's downright hilarious. At this moment, they noticed the little human girl was tapping on the glass. The evil dragon mocked, hey, don't waste your strength. This is the high-frequency white glory crystal barrier that jerk ISO crafted. Even I can't bust through it. If you can break it, I'll become your mount. The abyss demon eye chimed in. My most powerful magic ray can't breach it. If you succeed, I'll be your pet. Just then, the girl suddenly halted her actions. In the next instant, her arm erupted into molten lava. Then, she slammed her palm against the glass. Both the evil dragon and the abyss demon eye gaped in shock at this. They witnessed the girl's hand strike the glass, and flames erupted, astonishingly shattering the supposedly indestructible barrier. Moments later, a massive hole melted through the glass. The girl appeared bewildered, unsure of what had occurred or why her hand transformed like this. But the sight had left both the evil dragon and the abyss demon eye utterly stunned. The evil dragon quickly bowed low. I humbly submit. From this moment, I'll be your mount. Please melt my white glory crystal barrier as well. The abyss demon eye followed suit. From this day forth, I'm willing to be your pet. Kindly let me out. Meanwhile, ISO, who had just settled into dreamland, was jolted awake the very next second by the sound of alarms. The big rat hurriedly approached, exclaiming, why is the highest level 4 alarm ringing in the high-risk subject detention area? That means at least 3 white glory crystal walls have been shattered. ISO replied, we have to swiftly contain those creatures before they wreak more havoc. On their way to the high-risk detention area, the big rat reviewed the alarm details, stating, it's room F22's number 8, the evil dragon, and room F24's number 15, the abyss demon eye, and room in F23. I recall this detention isolation chamber is barren. Upon hearing this, ISO hurriedly reached out to investigate. Then he witnessed the girl melting the pristine crystal wall. Io's excitement was palpable. She revealed the transplanted left arm of the Ember Angel, but the big rat interjected. First, you must clarify how the ultimate disaster ended up in the high-risk subject observation zone. With a chime, the elevator arrived at the high-risk experiment subject observation area. As the elevator doors swung open, two rampaging monsters were unleashed. Aiso's gaze sharpened, asserting, "Surely, you two have had your thrill." At that moment, their eyes shifted over. The evil tyrant dragon charged forward, snarling, "You've kept me locked up for ages. It's time for some payback." The big rat shot at him, causing an explosion of smoke above his head. The evil tyrant dragon gasped, "What in the world is this?" Aiso replied, "A sack bomb loaded with over 200 dragon spider eggs. As a dragon, you should recognize dragon spiders." The evil tyrant dragon exclaimed, "Creatures that latch onto dragons and drain them dry. Once you're infected, death is inevitable." Aiso affirmed, "Well done. You nailed it." Seizing the moment when Aiso was distracted by the dragon, the Abyss Demon Eye launched an attack. Aiso raised his hand, and a grenade soared into the air. The Abyss Demon Eye's focus instantly shifted to the grenade. In a flash, it detonated with a blinding flash of white light. The Abyss Demon Eye cried out, "I'm going blind." "Eso, you wretched beast," Io retorted, "are you two going to keep causing trouble, or will you obediently head back to the detention room?" The evil tyrant dragon defied, "You think this will break us? We still have our boss." The Abyss Demon Eye added, "Exactly. She can melt your crystal wall. You won't stand a chance against her." Iso was puzzled about which boss they referred to. Then he watched as a woman emerged from between the two beasts. Iso's expression grew serious. Just as suspected, it's the ultimate calamity. Curse it, if she loses control, things could get messy. The evil tyrant dragon cackled. "Iso, your face tells a long-lost tale of fear," he declared. "Boss, this scoundrel locked us, the noble beings, and conducted experiments. You must seek justice for us." As the woman approached, the big rat began to tremble, pleading with Iso, "Don't you have a backup plan to contain the ultimate calamity?" Iso responded, "In theory, none of the known materials can completely subdue the ultimate calamity." Suddenly, the woman launched herself at him. Iso's heart raced. Oh no. The next instant, she knocked him to the ground. The evil tyrant dragon guffawed. "It isn't too late to beg for mercy. Help pull the dragon spider eggs from my body, then clean my toenails. I might still convince the boss to spare you." But he was quickly stunned, asking, "Boss, what are you doing?" They witnessed the ultimate calamity revert to a puppy-like demeanor, pouncing on Iso and licking his face. Iso attempted to push her away, stating, "Calamity, are you finished yet?" The ultimate calamity's expression was blank, looking utterly confused. Face. Iso gently pushed her face away, asking, "Calamity, are you finished yet?" The ultimate calamity's gaze was glazed, leaving Abe sounds. Face palming, he uttered, "Fine, I get it. You don't want to crash here. I'll find you another spot." After finishing, the ultimate disaster lunged once more. "Stop licking. Are you a freaking dog?" the tyrant dragon yelled in a frenzy. "Boss, what about that trick you used to melt the white glory crystal wall earlier?" Iso inquired. "You unleashed the ultimate disaster to smash the isolation room and ruin my nap. How do I owe you now?" In the end, the tyrant dragon was decked out in a ridiculous outfit. The tyrant dragon grumbled, "Forcing me into this ridiculous restraining reflection suit is beyond embarrassing." Meanwhile, the Abyss Demon Eye's room was flooded with onions. He lamented, "My eyes, my poor eyes. Get these onions out of here." At the same time, the ultimate disaster was removed from the high-risk experiment subject zone. She neither wanted to crash in Laboratory 0 nor sleep in the high-risk observation isolation zone. So where should she actually rest? The big rat proposed. "Easy, let her crash in your room." Iso cursed, "You filthy rat. How could I ever let an experiment subject bunk with me?" The big rat retorted, "But she's only comfortable with you. What if she stirs up trouble elsewhere?" Iso boasted, "That's a given. I added my soul extract, so we naturally vibe." But the big rat interjected, "There's the issue. That bottle of your soul extract, I drank it like booze." Iso yanked the rat's collar, exclaiming, "What did you just say?" The big rat clarified, "You had me doing your bidding when I was tipsy, and the extracted liquid soul had this smooth wine scent, so I just treated it like alcohol." Iso yelled in frustration, "You moron. Now even our last safeguard is shot. If the ultimate disaster goes wild, we're toast." But the rat pointed at the ultimate disaster, yelling, "Look behind you." They saw the ultimate disaster had already jumped into the fish tank. In an instant, she dived into the water and snatched a fish. This move sent the nine-headed dragon juvenile scurrying for cover. Iso yelled out, "Hey, that's not a toy. Get out of there now." However, she didn't hear a word of it underwater. Iso couldn't take it anymore, yanked her foot, and pulled her out of the water. Iso fell too from the sudden pull. A moment later, the ultimate disaster innocently stared at Iso, who was blushing from the impact. Iso scolded, "Ultimate disaster? As your master, I command you to never go in the water tank again." But in that instant, the ultimate disaster sneezed. At this moment, she was drenched, looking utterly pitiful. Iso sighed, "Forget it, you're too dirty. Let's get you cleaned up first." Soon after, Iso filled the bathtub with hot water. He took hold of the ultimate disaster's hand, then checked under her armpit. He scanned 3 times. There really seemed to be no germs on her, but still, he wasn't keen on letting an experiment subject use his tub. Then he instructed the ultimate disaster. Alright, once I step out, you go wash up. Understand? The ultimate disaster's eyes were glazed over, completely lost. Iso facepalmed, so he added some sign language and reiterated. Once I leave, take off your clothes and use this to bathe. Got it. This time, the ultimate disaster finally nodded. Then she started undressing right in front of Iso, sending Iso into a panic as he waved his hands. I said after I step out, then take it off. Idiot. He instinctively shut his eyes, but then realized, wait, why am I being shy? In the presence of a grand alchemist, test subjects don't have a gender. I need to confront her directly. The next moment, his nose gushed a river of blood. Then he crumpled to the floor from loss of blood. Moments later, Eso stuffed tissues into his nostrils to stem the flow. He sported tinted glasses. Using the shower head, he dampened the ultimate calamity's hair, grumbling, damn, I still have to bathe this one myself. He set the shower head down, squeezed out some shampoo, then applied it to the ultimate calamity's head, helping in her hair washing process. During the wash, he didn't forget to tell her to stay still and keep her eyes shut. After a bit, he instructed, okay, lean your head back. The ultimate calamity obediently tilted her head, allowing clear water to wash through her hair. Iso sighed internally at that moment. I must admit, this biological shell she's got has some seriously deceptive qualities. Moments later, he shut off the water and grabbed a towel for the ultimate calamity, saying, I'm not your babysitter. You dry off yourself. Even if you're the ultimate calamity, I'm not waiting on you. Just as he turned to leave, he inadvertently stepped on soap on the floor. His body pitched backward, sending him tumbling into the bathtub. Iso felt a sharp pain in his head. He whined, should have just tossed you straight into the disinfection room and blasted you with a high-pressure hose. However, the ultimate calamity gazed at him with concern. Just as she was about to assist Iso up, the big rat burst open the door, exclaiming, found an explosion-proof collar if you're worried about the ultimate calamity going rogue. The big rat didn't complete his sentence before being stunned by the scene in front of him. He then grinned and closed the door, remarking, looks like I worried over nothing, you two carry on. The big rat breathed a sigh of relief. Then he glanced at the painting on the wall, saying, rest assured, Master, young Master's preferences are perfectly normal. In the end, Eso still helped her dry her hair. He opened a drawer and pulled out a hairdryer, plugged it in. Just when he was about to dry the ultimate calamity's hair, she spotted the hairdryer reflected in the mirror. Its shape resembled a gun. This brought back unpleasant memories for her, specifically of that man who shot at her. The ultimate calamity's face became one of fear. Iso lifted the hairdryer, commanding, stay put. I'll dry your hair. But when he opened his eyes, he noticed the ultimate calamity had vanished. Where did she go? Where could she possibly hide? Until he spotted her behind the curtain. What is she up to? He marched over and yanked the curtain open, revealing a visibly trembling ultimate calamity. What's happening? Why did she get so scared all of a sudden? Is it the hairdryer? The hairdryer's resemblance to a gun must have triggered memories of that night of being hunted. Looks like she still holds onto her pre-experiment personality. Sigh. What a hassle of an experiment subject. Glancing at the still trembling ultimate calamity, Iso said, hey, ultimate calamity. At last, she lifted her gaze toward him. She watched as Iso brandished the hairdryer once more. The ultimate calamity flinched, pulling back her head, trembling in fear. But Iso fired up the hairdryer. The whirling noise echoed, and the ultimate disaster cracked open one eye to peek. They saw Iso aiming the hairdryer at himself, blowing air. In the blink of an eye, he began to act goofy. Initially, the ultimate disaster was puzzled, but soon a smile crept in. Eventually, she burst into laughter. After that, Iso handed her the hairdryer. The ultimate disaster flipped the switch. Instantly, the wind from the hairdryer ruffled her hair. Just like that, after 20 minutes flew by, Iso felt utterly speechless. If only he'd known this. He should have let her keep fretting over the hairdryer. Iso yanked the hairdryer from her grasp, declaring, I didn't go through all this trouble to create you just so you could mess around with a hairdryer at this hour. But the ultimate disaster looked at him with puppy eyes. She hoped Iso would give the hairdryer back to her, but cuteness wasn't cutting it. He stashed the hairdryer back in the cabinet, locked it away with a key, saying, behave, and I might let you play with it later. For now, hit the sack immediately. The ultimate disaster made a disgruntled sound. Soon after, he ushered her back to his room. Where's this troublesome one supposed to sleep tonight? Can't let her crash on the bed. My bed isn't for experimental subjects. That's my golden rule as an alchemist. But while he pondered, the ultimate disaster had already climbed onto Iso's bed, wrapping herself in the blanket. Iso flipped out, snapping, idiot. Who said you could sleep in my bed? Get up. Facing Iso's reprimand, the ultimate disaster looked clueless. Iso said, listen up. As an experimental subject, you can't sleep on the bed. Got it? You'll be on the floor tonight. No fidgeting, no noise. Did you hear me? Now go to sleep. The next morning, Iso was jolted awake by the alarm clock. Suddenly, Iso sensed something was off. Whose hand is that? And a warm breeze was blowing past his ear. Wait, could this warm air by my ear be? Since when did she sneak onto my bed? But honestly, she looks nothing like the ultimate disaster now. Just then, the big rat lumbered in and asked, Iso, how'd you sleep last night? Where's the ultimate disaster? Iso shrugged, I've got no clue. The big rat replied, you don't know? What if she sneaked into the high-risk experiment subject area again? That would be a disaster. Check the surveillance footage right now. Iso said, you head to the monitoring room first. I'll be right there. The big rat said, fine, I'll go first. Suddenly, the big rat seemed to catch on. He said, hey, your blanket is moving. Iso retorted, you must be seeing things. A blanket can't move. Just as Iso was about to keep making excuses, the ultimate disaster popped out from under the covers. With the cat out of the bag, Iso clarified that she snuck up there by herself last night. The big rat replied, okay, for a clueless teen like you, it's understandable to have these urges. I won't mock you. In fact, I'm happy for you. You've finally matured. Iso promptly blasted him with extraction fluid. The big rat exclaimed, you actually sprayed me with stink bug gland extract. That's what we created for city heroes. Iso stated, I already told you she climbed up on her own last night. Now hurry up and get ready to start full tests on the ultimate disaster. Iso declared, I've already explained she climbed up by herself last night. Now stop wasting time and gear up for the ultimate calamity's comprehensive testing. Before long, they stepped into the physical baseline data collection room of the experimental subject testing zone. The big rat warned, don't lift your gaze, or the readings will be off. Height 171 centimeters. The big rat noted, she's a full 11 centimeters taller than you. If you fancy a kiss, you'll need to stand on your toes. Iso retorted, moron, I'm still growing. And who said, I want to kiss her? Physical test item 2, weight test. Weight 64 kilograms. Iso felt baffled. That light? No way. Just her left arm alone would outweigh 64 kilograms, not to mention the ultra-high-density cocoon of despair, fetal blood flowing through her veins. Her weight should easily hit 800 kilograms. Then came the most vital measurements. The big rat gasped in disbelief. Perfect proportions. Iso snapped, idiot. Stop wasting time on pointless stats. Now, let's evaluate lung power. Follow me. First, take the deepest breath possible. Then, put your mouth on this and blow with everything you've got. Iso's demonstration left Ultimate Calamity somewhat bewildered. Iso declared, alright, your turn. Yes, just like that. Now, blow with all your might. What are you hesitating for? Blow into this. Suddenly, Ultimate Calamity smothered Iso with a hug. Iso exclaimed, hey, what do you think you're doing? You're not supposed to blow into my mouth, you airhead. Before Iso could react, Ultimate Calamity had already kissed him, even pinning Iso to the table while doing so. The big rat asked, so, is the lung capacity test complete? Iso shouted, silly rat, come help me. After kissing Iso, Ultimate Calamity looked thrilled, but when she noticed the counter hadn't budged, confusion clouded her excitement. Iso hastily turned on the faucet to cleanse his mouth. The big rat chuckled, that's priceless, getting forcibly kissed by your very own subject. You might be the first in the Pellet family legacy to experience that, so enjoy it. Was Ultimate Calamity's mouth that sweet and fragrant? Iso shot back, have you been blabbering too much, you stinking rat? The big rat replied, we've tested her more than a dozen times. She's free of any pathogens, so ditch the hazmat. Iso said, less chatter. You're handling the next set of tests. The big rat shrugged, fine, I'm on it. What an unappreciative little virgin who doesn't realize the luck he's got. Sit and reach test 8 centimeters. Subject's body flexibility rating D as normal. 50 meters in 6 seconds. Subject's lower limb explosive power rating D as normal. One hand grip strength test 51 kilograms. Subject's grip strength rating D as normal. The big rat remarked, from the physical data, she's just like any regular human. Iso commented, maybe it's because she hasn't switched to combat mode yet. Besides, these are just basic physical evaluations. The real emphasis lies on the attack method and intensity assessments, attack desire evaluations, and various forms of physical resistance and tolerance tests. The big rat agreed, true, so let's get her into battle mode quickly. Have you figured out how to do that? Iso replied, it's straightforward. Use ultra high-risk subject 0 as a target, throw the two of them in together. Hearing this, the big rat exclaimed, have you lost your mind? That's subject 0 we're discussing. We should take it step by step, gradually intensifying the strength of the experimental subjects she's up against. Let's kick things off with the weakest non-hazard level organism, the prairie white rabbit. Iso chimed in. If I recall correctly, the weakest creature should be the lab white mouse. The big rat retorted angrily, you fool. I replied, no, it's rodents being used for testing. Iso countered, sure, you all fall under rodents, but you aren't of the same kind. You're a filthy gray sewer rat, so, do you really believe this harmless organism can ignite her combat instincts? Just as Iso finished, the white rabbit was snatched away by Ultimate Calamity. The big rat exclaimed, who just claimed harmless organisms can awaken her bloodlust? Iso stated, If even an adorable little white rabbit can spark her thirst for killing, then bringing her into a crowded area would lead to a bloodbath. The more he pondered, the more thrilled he became. But Ultimate Calamity treated the little rabbit like a cherished pet. The sight in front of them left Iso and the big rat speechless. Then, Iso retrieved a red potion. He injected the potion into the rabbit. The big rat inquired, "What did you just inject into that rabbit?" Iso responded, "The freshly upgraded Berserk Evolution number 6. The mutation speed ramped up by 29 times. Soon, the rabbit under the potion started to transform. A series of cracking noises erupted. The rabbit's size ballooned several times larger. At that moment, Ultimate Calamity was still oblivious. Iso said, "To provoke Ultimate Calamity's combat thirst, the opponent must be at this level. Let's temporarily call our test subject Super Fierce Rabbit Beast number 1. Shortly after, Super Fierce Rabbit Beast number 1 entered combat mode. Iso shouted, "Fight, fight, fight." The big rat mused, "This fool, lost in alchemy, has no clue how to appreciate beauty." The Super Fierce Rabbit Beast suddenly launched a punch at Ultimate Calamity. The big rat proposed, "What if we place a bet on this?" Iso asked, "Bet on what?" The big rat replied, "Let's wager on whether Ultimate Calamity dodges this punch or takes it head-on. The stakes? This week's cleaning duties." Iso agreed, "I'll bet she'll dodge." The big rat countered, "I bet she'll take it head-on." Soon, the ground shattered into pieces. Such immense destructive force left the spectators in awe. Yet, when the Super Fierce Rabbit Beast raised its fist, Ultimate Calamity was nowhere to be found. Suddenly, rustling noises came from the rabbit beast's arm. In an instant, Ultimate Calamity appeared from the rabbit's long fur. The Super Fierce Rabbit Beast was so terrified it toppled over, unable to rise. They then witnessed Ultimate Calamity embracing the Super Fierce Rabbit Beast and nuzzling it. The big rat remarked, "This girl lacks any combat desire." Afterward, Iso and the big rat escorted Ultimate Calamity to the ultra-high-risk restricted zone. The big rat stated, "Her combat capabilities are less impressive than we thought. We can train her gradually. If we throw her right into facing ultra-high-risk Subject 0, what if she meets her end?" Iso replied, "If she perishes, it indicates she's a failed experiment. She holds no other value apart from raising the success rate of the next test subject." We've arrived at the ultra-high-risk Subject 0's detention room. Iso and the big rat quickly donned their gas masks. The big rat said, Iso and the large rat swiftly donned their gas masks. The large rat exclaimed, "It's not too late to rethink your decision. We've put all our top-notch transplants into her. An accident now would cost us dearly. You know how ultra-high-risk Subject 0 is. She's got that killer instinct." Iso declared, "I want her to be ruthless. That's the only way she can evolve into the true Ultimate Calamity. We've already failed too many times. I'm done with this. Listen closely. If you don't unleash Ultimate Calamity's true strength against ultra-high-risk Subject 0, you're as good as dead. You were designed for one reason, to be the ultimate biological weapon to help me rule the world." The big rat chimed in, "Using such a pretty girl for combat feels like a waste. She'd make a fantastic mascot for the organization too." Meanwhile, ultra-high-risk experiment, Subject 0, Lucille seemed to catch on to something. Iso said, "I've come to see you, Lucille." Lucille replied, "Little Iso, after 1,322 days, you finally gave in to see me." Iso responded, "Subject 0, I've already brought Ultimate Calamity to life. You're no longer my top experiment." Lucille shot back, "Impossible. I, Lucille, am still your top experiment." Iso called out, "Bring in Ultimate Calamity." The big rat commented that in an instant, she had already slipped inside. Iso said, "You fool. You can't even keep watch over someone properly." Lucille saw this and exclaimed, "Get your dirty hands off." Iso insisted, "Look, she's the test subject, Ultimate Calamity. The strongest subject I've engineered. Lucille, if you want to reclaim the top spot, defeat her." Lucille challenged, "If I win, you'll stay here with me for a whole day." Iso agreed, "Sure thing," Lucille added. "Then let me hold you while we sleep." Iso warned, "Don't get ahead of yourself." Lucille assured, "Relax, little Iso. I'll utterly obliterate your new experiment subject. You're meant to belong to me alone." Iso stated, "Then unleash your full force. Listen up, Ultimate Calamity. This time, if you don't fight, you'll truly perish. If Lucille actually takes you down, it'll mean you're a failed creation." Then Iso and the big rat arrived at the ultra-high-risk Subject 0 observation area. The big rat asked, "So, did you reassure Ultimate Calamity properly?" Iso retorted, "Enough with the chit-chat, prep for the test, let Lucille out. I can finally stretch my legs." However, Lucille's first move wasn't to hunt Ultimate Calamity. Instead, she showed off before the camera, stating, "Little Iso, just sit back and enjoy my spectacular slaughter show." At that moment, the big rat handed Iso a bag of chips, saying, "Have some snacks. Watch while you munch." But Iso swatted the big rat's chips away, declaring, "They're all cheese flavor. You keep them." The big rat was bewildered. "You've never complained about cheese-flavored chips before. Why the serious face? Don't fret. Lucille's wearing an explosion-proof collar right before she's about to take down Ultimate Calamity." It can completely shut down the virus activity inside her. So, let's place another wager. Bet on who will win this test. I'm betting on Lucille. The reward? Next week's TV remote control rights, ISO stated. Let's wager on who takes this test. I'm backing Lucille. The prize? Control of the TV remote for next week, said ISO. I'm betting on Ultimate Calamity. She's either destined to triumph or perish. At that moment, Lucille had already positioned herself behind Ultimate Calamity. While Ultimate Calamity continued to bang on the locked door, yearning for freedom, Lucille looked at her adorably. Lucille remarked, "Quit wasting energy. You won't get it open." At this instant, Lucille also noticed something was off. She exhibited zero desire for combat or malice. She commented, "Doesn't matter. Once I take you out, little ISO will belong to me." Observing this, the large rat said, "Lucille's gearing up for action, but Ultimate Calamity's completely unresponsive." Lucille barked, "What kind of worthless creation is this Ultimate Calamity? Become my nourishment." But in an instant, Lucille felt a hand clasp around hers, shocking her. "How did this girl turn and grab my hand?" ISO was thrilled. "Is this really Ultimate Calamity?" Sensing Lucille's deadly intent and readying for battle mode fantastic, Ultimate Calamity is finally about to unleash her strength. In that moment, Lucille panicked internally. What is this girl up to? Where's she pulling me? Soon, Ultimate Calamity tugged Lucille toward the massive iron door, gesturing and making noises. ISO and the large rat gaped in disbelief, so she seized Lucille's hand just to get her assistance with the door. Finally, Lucille got it, exclaiming, "You brought me here because you want me to help you open this." Just as Lucille finished, Ultimate Calamity beamed and nodded at her. Lucille covered her face, chuckling. She remarked, "Little ISO, your so-called ultimate biological weapon, Ultimate Calamity, turns out to be a total fool." She then grasped Ultimate Calamity's wrist. "Let me teach you the way out of here. It involves being consumed by my virus until there's nothing left but scrap. Ultimately, to be tossed into the trash without recycling and taken away." Soon, Ultimate Calamity's body started to decay. Lucille commented, "Wow, the strongest bioweapon? Ultimate Calamity appears to be infected. Recall this? Well, little ISO's ultimate biological weapon is definitely just me." At this moment, the monitoring screen blared an alarm. The large rat said, "This isn't good. The virus is infiltrating her entire flesh and organs through the epidermal cells of Ultimate Calamity," ISO said, bewildered. "Impossible. We previously confirmed that the red blood cells in the cocoon of despair, fetal blood, would eradicate pathogens trying to infect it. Right now, Ultimate Calamity had been fully contaminated, her body convulsing on the ground." Lucille sneered, "Going down so easily? That's no fun at all." The large rat cautioned, "Abort the confrontation test immediately. Ultimate Calamity won't last much longer." ISO said, "Stay calm. The virus has only impacted 30% of red blood cells, 42% of organ cells, and 38% of nerve cells. We're far from reaching the death threshold. The virus has managed to infect merely 30% of red blood cells, 42% of organ cells, and 38% of nerve cells, far from reaching the lethal threshold. Only death can ignite the cocoon of despair within her, causing the fetal blood to simmer, pushing her to fully become the true Ultimate Calamity." Then Lucille stepped down on the head of Ultimate Calamity. She declared, "Little ISO, is this truly Ultimate Calamity? She's absurdly weak. I haven't even begun to enjoy myself. Weren't you just full of energy a moment ago? You even had the audacity to ask me for help to open the door. Why the silence now?" the big rat remarked. "The virus has breached over 70% of her cells. Aren't you going to terminate it?" ISO replied, "Hold on a bit longer. The perpetual heart is an artificial mechanical heart. The virus can't invade it, nor has it touched her brain nerve cells yet." Lucille remarked, "It seems little ISO isn't too bothered about this girl. I misunderstood. In that case, let's set the stage for a grand trial ceremony." In the next moment, Lucille began to lick Ultimate Calamity. She commented, "Though she's a worthless experiment subject, her flavor is surprisingly delightful." "Now, I'll begin my feast," the big rat urged. "The virus has enveloped 90% of Ultimate Calamity's body cells. We must promptly activate Lucille's explosion-proof collar." However, just as the big rat was about to hit the button, ISO halted him. The big rat asked, puzzled, "ISO, what's your deal?" ISO stated, "It's not time yet. Hold on a little longer." The big rat insisted, "She's not prepared at all. We can't just let her be consumed by Lucille." ISO responded, "Stinking rat, you just think she's attractive. You weren't this soft-hearted with past test subjects. Don't forget our ambition to make every being bow before the Persalad family. Whether it's Ultimate Calamity or Lucille, they're mere tools to fulfilling that aim." Just then, Ultimate Calamity suddenly cried out to ISO, "Master." In that moment, Ultimate Calamity had pushed herself to her limits, her words frail and weak. The big rat was taken aback. "When did Ultimate Calamity learn to speak? Did you teach her?" ISO replied, "I gave her a little lesson last night." Last night, Ultimate Calamity attempted numerous times to climb onto the bed, but was pushed away by ISO each time. The frustrated Ultimate Calamity made noises at ISO. ISO asserted, "No means no. Experiment subjects aren't allowed on the bed." Rejected by ISO, Ultimate Calamity wore a pitiful look. Witnessing this, ISO felt a twinge of compassion. He said, "Listen closely. If you call me master just once, I'll make a rare exception and let you rest on the bed for 30 minutes." Although her vocal cords had been previously damaged, the AOT of cultivation fluid she'd soaked in had long since healed her wounds. So, there was only one reason she couldn't verbalize her thoughts now. She had forgotten how to talk. ISO said, "Come on, repeat after me, master." Ultimate Calamity focused intensely, but still couldn't articulate it right. ISO felt helpless. Is it genuinely that challenging? Ultimate Calamity struggled for a significant while, but could still only produce sounds. ISO said, "This girl is truly slow. Alright, hurry up and get some sleep." But Ultimate Calamity persisted. Even in her slumber, she was picking up the art of speaking in the strangest way. In her slumber, she unexpectedly mastered the art of conversation. Lucille remarked, "So, you can talk now. But calling for master won't do you any good. Little ISO has no use for faulty goods like you. Fine, it's time for my meal." Just as Lucille was set to devour Ultimate Calamity at the crucial moment, she abruptly collapsed to the ground in agony. It turned out that ISO had triggered the explosion-proof collar around Lucille's neck at the very last second. She yelled, "Little ISO pulling this on me? Why? In all the previous tests you set up for me, even when rare subjects were about to meet their end at my hands, you never intervened. So why the change for her?" Staring into the big rat's stunned eyes, ISO replied, "You're right, those transplants are treasures. It'd be a total waste for Lucille to munch on them." The hefty rat commented, "Chill out. I promise. I won't believe you hit the emergency stop because you got all soft when she called you master." Then ISO showed up fully geared up before disaster struck. He remarked, "Stop calling me master. You don't deserve it." Just as he was about to walk away, he crossed paths with Lucille. She asked, "Why? In combat skills and looks, she's leagues below me." ISO replied, "It's because of her crucial, transplanted organs. If you devour them, the Ultimate Calamity experiment would hit a dead end." Hearing this, Lucille smiled with satisfaction. The hefty rat in the control room was left speechless. If you can't handle losing her, why even bother with this confrontation test? What a waste of time. Yet, in the very next moment, he couldn't hold back a smile any longer, as Lucille's body temperature was creeping back to normal on the monitor. This meant the collar around Lucille's neck had lost its grip on her. Watching this unfold, the hefty rat shrieked into ISO's earpiece, "Get out of Subject Zero's detention room. Now." Unaware of the seriousness, ISO casually replied, "Why the shouting? You just busted my eardrum." The hefty rat exclaimed, "Lucille's explosion-proof collar has failed. Her body temperature is spiking." ISO was stunned. "What? Why didn't you spill that earlier?" Before he could finish, Lucille had stealthily appeared behind him. She stated, "You've got it all wrong. The explosion-proof collar isn't malfunctioning. You see, little ISO, as the top alchemist, you must know that viruses adapt to their surroundings." During her confinement of over 1,000 days, Lucille had purposely activated the collar's extreme cold matrix repeatedly. Through those grueling challenges, the cells in her body that couldn't handle the extreme cold perished through repetition. Now she had fully developed resistance to it. ISO broke into a cold sweat. The only means to control her was gone. He definitely couldn't push her buttons now. Acting nonchalant, he said, "Lucille, you've won this round. I'll keep my promise. One day with me? That's simply not enough anymore." Lucille then removed ISO's hood, gently stroking his cheek. The virus from her hand swiftly invaded all his skin tissue. Gazing at ISO's drowsy state, Lucille exclaimed, "I finally infiltrated your body. I can feel every cell stirring inside you." The hefty rat looked on in terror. Lucille reassured, "Little rat, chill. Under my control. The viruses are all in the incubation phase. How could I harm him?" Yet, before she could finish, Lucille's eyes darkened completely as she noticed that ISO's lips were tainted with that Ultimate Calamity's salivary amylase. She quickly spun around and fiercely clutched Ultimate Calamity's neck, shouting, "You kissed him, didn't you?" The hefty rat clutched his eyes, too frightened to look because Lucille was a mass of viruses herself. She possessed the ability to identify biological elements at a cellular level. In this state, there was no way to pull one over on her. This truly was the end. The more Lucille pondered, the angrier she felt. This was truly the end. The more Lucille pondered, the more her fury intensified. Something she hadn't claimed yet was snatched away by her first. Absolutely unforgivable. "I'll unleash the virus to invade every nerve cell of yours, forcing you to endure ultimate torment that's worse than death itself." As Ultimate Calamity's face twisted in agony, ISO stood there, utterly powerless at this moment. Lucille was the mightiest dark plague virus he had ever devised. She could withstand nearly any organic or inorganic material. The only thing that could contain her, the explosion-proof collar, had evolved to resist her. Now she seemed virtually invincible. He cast a look at the void substance that could obliterate anything. This thing was still in the experimental stage. Using it recklessly could obliterate the entire base. Damn it. Was there really no way to suppress her? At that moment, the big rat's voice jolted him awake. "It's you. Lucille is after you." Lucille had completely lost her mind. Even though she couldn't infect her heart and brain cells, corroding all the flesh except those parts would still lead to her demise. The very next second, Iso shouted from behind, "Stop, Lucille." Lucille turned around, seeing Iso aiming a gun at his own head. Lucille gasped, "You're insane, threatening me with your own life for this fool." Iso replied, "I told you she's not important, but her body is my paramount experimental asset. Without these assets, world domination is futile. What would living mean? Well played." The big rat in the monitoring room commendably praised this. Iso's acting had significantly improved. After some internal turmoil, Lucille gradually lowered her head, saying, "I understand." Iso was stunned. He hadn't expected her to agree so easily. Once he collected himself, he realized he had misjudged the situation. She hadn't listened at all. Lucille said, "Once I consume her, I'll help you revive your family and take over the world." Iso inhaled deeply. There was no alternative. He could only resort to that move. The big rat was astonished. "There's still a trump card to restrain Lucille. Why didn't you pull it out sooner?" Iso replied, "That's undoubtedly because this trump card is incredibly embarrassing." He then shouted loudly at Lucille, "If you want me to cradle you to sleep every night from now on, you'll stop listening to this." Lucille's body froze immediately. Then she dashed to Iso's side at top speed, asking, "Are you serious?" Just imagining holding little Iso while asleep every night from here on out. Lucille trembled with excitement, but simultaneously, she raised 2 fingers, stating, "I can spare her, but I have 2 additional conditions. First, she must be locked in this detention room forever. I'll go out and live with you." Iso complied. For the time being, he could only stabilize her, planning to seek out new methods to contain Lucille later. Then, Lucille's lips curled into a wicked grin. She pushed Iso's head against her chest. Then, she slapped Ultimate Calamity awake, commanding, "Wake up, watch closely." Lucille forcefully opened Iso's mouth. Without hesitating, she kissed him. Not only that, she shoved her tongue inside. Only when Iso was gasping for air did she reluctantly pull away. Afterward, she sensually licked her saliva-coated lips, savoring the pleasure. Then she swallowed it. She exclaimed, "Little Iso's saliva is so tasty. You're still the same," favoring that violet-flavored toothpaste. The giant rat shut his eyes tight. As a friend, he felt joy for Iso, yet as his experimental aid, a wave of pity washed over him for Iso. Ultimate Calamity, who saw it all unfold, was struck with severe anguish in her heart. An unimaginable force surged within her. Even Lucille couldn't shake off the strange sensation creeping in. The viral cells that dare invaded, the other body turned to nothing but ash. In the blink of an eye, Ultimate Calamity shattered her bonds. Her whole being blazed with an inferno of flames. Then she seized Lucille's throat and hissed, "I despise you, you wicked woman." The sight left both Iso and the big rat dumbfounded. That was the hand of the Ember Angel. Thankfully, Ultimate Calamity hadn't fully harnessed this power yet. After overcoming Lucille, she slipped into unconsciousness for 3 days. During that time, Ultimate Calamity drifted into a dream. In her slumber, she suffered brutal torment from her stepmother. The teddy bear clutched in her hands was cruelly tossed aside and crushed. Her father, witnessing this heart-wrenching scene, wished to defend his daughter. However, he never anticipated the words of the woman that followed, leaving him deeply humiliated. "Oh, are we putting on a show of father-daughter affection? Don't forget who turned you into the kingdom's top actor." As soon as she finished, a masked man lurking behind the woman remarked, "So, your family willingly signed up to produce child soldiers?" The mother coolly replied, "Indeed, that girl." Her father, taken aback, asked, "Who is this guy? How did he invade our home without permission?" The masked man sneered, "We hellhounds answer to no one in this kingdom, even the king in his own chamber." Upon hearing this, the father finally grasped that his daughter was sold to the hellhound organization by that malicious woman. The mother smugly added, "Don't let her size fool you. She's really tough. Starve her for 3 days, and she'll still talk." Noticing the girl stood unafraid, the masked man remarked in admiration, "I like the fire in her eyes. We'll take her." With that, he lifted the girl and marched out. Despite his daughter's desperate sobs, the spineless father couldn't muster the bravery to intervene and stop them. Meanwhile, at the White Queen film studio, the celebrated actress White Queen was assembling her next big dramatic piece. The storyline revolved around the male lead, who, after a grueling journey, confronted death on his own. But for love, the devoted White Queen leaped in front of him without a second thought. After their true feelings were revealed through untold trials, they shared a passionate kiss. Originally, the script called for the kiss to be shot from a specific angle, but in an uncontrolled moment, the male lead decided to go for it for real. Right as he leaned in to kiss her, the White Queen's foot struck him square in the face. She exclaimed, "I said the kissing shot must be from an angle. Who gave you the right to shove your grimy mouth here?" The director quickly shouted, "Cut," rushing over to apologize. "Chairman, please take it easy." It turned out White Queen wasn't just the head of White Queen Entertainment Group, but she also ranked as the second heroic figure in Golden City. The director went on, "This guy's new and still learning the rules, but he's already the closest actor we could find who resembles the first mayor. But he's the closest match we could find to the first-generation mayor. No doubt about it." The White Queen fixed her gaze on the man for a prolonged moment, asserting, "He only looks like him on the outside. He's completely devoid of father's divine aura. Plus, his acting is atrocious. His reaction during the burn scene was overly phony. Get rid of him, the director commanded. But we've already swapped out over 700 people. Our budget is through the roof. To this, the White Queen retorted dismissively. It's merely money. I'll add another 200 million to your budget. Go withdraw the funds from my account soon. Just as she finished, a subordinate rushed in with news. The White Queen gasped. What, my bank got hit? The subordinate confirmed. Yes. 2 robbers set off a timed poison gas device, incapacitating everyone before executing the heist. They even left behind the gas device ISO had used at the scene. Initially, the White Queen thought it was just another robbery, but upon noticing a special mark on the device, her eyes widened. It was him, the subordinate added. Furthermore, Hulk encountered an unknown biochemical weapon while chasing those robbers and ended up as a vile slime. The Lighthouse District branch is in total disarray. They're requesting assistance from headquarters. After a brief pause, the White Queen instructed her subordinate, "This issue doesn't call for the Patrol Bureau rookies to step in. I'll handle it myself." Hearing this, the subordinate seemed to grasp the situation, responding, "Right, the Lighthouse District is indeed your hero territory." The White Queen rose, her expression grave, asserting, "You're mistaken. This is unrelated to my hero territory. Those robbers might have answers to a significant question I've been searching for. Also, mobilize all personnel, track down those robbers, no matter what. Suspend filming of the new drama. During this break, the production crew will receive their salaries as usual." Then, she approached the male lead, asking, "Did you honestly want to kiss me?" The man instantly dropped to his knees, pleading, "I was wrong. I won't ever dare again." In an instant, the White Queen swiftly formed a block of ice in her hand. She stated, "If you can melt this block of extreme cold ice in your mouth, I'll reconsider your inappropriate thoughts, despite your looks. If you bore even a slight resemblance to father, you would have already met your end when you brought that filthy mouth near me. No man on this planet can touch me with his mouth, except father." Meanwhile, Lucille remained unconscious after her defeat. Afterward, ISO promptly initiated an analysis of the entire event. He needed to uncover the trigger and reason behind Ultimate Calamity's ability awakening. He declared that Ultimate Calamity officially became the second ultra-high-risk experimental subject following Lucille. Her code name would be Core. Though Core's greatest asset was her gentle demeanor, her deficiencies were glaring, her abilities were exceedingly unstable, and she lacked any urge to attack. She first utilized the Ember Angel's left arm in the detention room that night. ISO scrutinized the surveillance footage from that evening. It likely stemmed from her aversion to sleeping there. Hearing this, the big rat joked, "Can I take this to mean she wanted to sleep alongside you?" ISO shot back, "Shut up." The second time she employed the Ember Angel's left arm was during her fight with Lucille. She probably thought Lucille was attacking me, which kicked her combat instincts into high gear. Her seething cocoon of despair and fetal blood instantly wiped the virus from her system and unleashed her ultimate move on Lucille, the Thermal Pressure Steam Annihilation Cannon. The big rat asked, "Hold on. What's the Thermal Pressure Steam Annihilation Cannon?" ISO replied, "That's my name for Core's technique. Pretty slick, right?" The big rat said, "I'm confused." Plus, there was a massive temperature divergence between the two instances. The second time it was nearing the heat of solar flares. Even the high-temperature-resistant Dark Plague virus was obliterated in an instant. ISO stated, "Indeed, if not for the extreme cold matrix and Lucille's explosion-proof collar counteracting some of the thermal energy, she'd be in more than just a simple coma right now." Just then, Core's stomach grumbled. She pointed to her mouth and said shyly, "Master, I'm hungry." The big rat looked at ISO. "Don't tell me you haven't fed her since you created her." ISO hadn't realized that Ultimate Calamity actually needed to feed. Then, he formulated a plan. Since she needed nourishment, he would whip up the most nutritious, high-energy meal for her. He then took Core to the evil Tyrant Dragon's holding cell. When the evil Tyrant Dragon saw ISO, it instantly became compliant. It said, "My esteemed master, the greatest alchemist, have you come to liberate me?" ISO suggested that it now had a shot at redemption through service. The evil Tyrant Dragon, hearing this, became thrilled. "Really? How so?" ISO stated that it was to nourish Ultimate Calamity. Upon hearing that, the evil Tyrant Dragon was utterly terrified. The big rat was puzzled too. The evil Tyrant Dragon was the only authentic dragon breed among their subjects. Using it for food was downright excessive. ISO said, "That's exactly why for Ultimate Calamity, devouring a genuine dragon species is the most effective way to regain energy. Plus, it could evolve into a supreme form." Considering this, ISO promptly ordered Core to consume the evil Tyrant Dragon. Yet, he didn't anticipate that after Core bit down, the evil Tyrant Dragon remained unharmed. Her teeth had swollen from the impact. After several attempts, they found that they could only feed Core like a regular human. Experiencing instant noodles for the first time, she was thrilled. Before I could teach her to use chopsticks, she grabbed them with both hands and devoured all the instant noodles in one go. Watching this unfold, ISO felt utterly helpless. It was merely instant noodles. There was no reason to cry over how tasty they were. The large rat suggested it was likely because she had never indulged in quality food before. Aizo replied, "I'm the most qualified to comment on this, just like back when you were a sewer rat. The first time you stole cheese from my room, you nearly burst open. I almost took you out." The big rat retorted, "Be quiet. That's still better than a little kid like you pleading with mommy for milk at 3 years old." At that moment, they were unaware of the depth of the issue. Within just 1 hour, Core had polished off every snack in the base. Eso crouched in a corner with the last bag of snacks, shivering, confused. This was way beyond what it used to be. How had it spiraled so wildly? After munching on a piece of chocolate and pondering this, he resolved to take the initiative. He tore the bag open and gulped down the remaining snacks in one swift motion, underestimating Core's hunger. In an instant, Core pinned Eso's hands to the ground. Then she leaned in and kissed him. Her tongue ferociously danced around, exploring every inch of his mouth until she devoured all the snacks within. Only then did Core finally release him. Realizing this, the big rat knew Eso's side had already lost. However, this secret stash was one he had meticulously created. Core shouldn't be able to detect him here. But fate had other plans. Core sniffed around for a while. Once she tracked the aroma below, she activated the Annihilating Angel's left arm. Within moments, she melted a massive hole through the ground. Then she jumped down. Seeing this, the big rat still wanted to fight back. Little did he know that weapons against Core were like tissue paper. The big rat cherished 400 pieces of the world's priciest cheese, including 10 limited edition signed pieces. Core devoured them all without leaving a crumb. After this incident, Iso realized Core had zero resistance to high-calorie treats, particularly chocolate, and when it came to calorie-packed food, she would stop at nothing, even utilizing thermal pressure steam. The big rat exclaimed, "Such a dreadful test subject must face severe consequences. They should use the mad rat pulverizer to chop her into 1,200 pieces." Iso countered, "But she's a pretty girl," the big rat insisted. "Then use alchemical aquaria and the Slime King's digestive fluid to wash her eyesight," Iso suggested. "But she's a pretty girl," the big rat insisted. "Then deploying biochemical brain-sucking mosquitoes to clean out her head should be acceptable, right?" Iso added. "But she's a pretty girl," the big rat insisted. All right, I get the gist. Just deal with her casually." In the end, Iso decided he still needed to impose a real penalty. Who knew what chaos would arise next time? Logically speaking, Core's current mental state was roughly that of a 2- or 3-year-old child. The massive rodent claimed that Core had devoured all the food. Now, they had no choice but to venture outside to shop. The more Iso heard this, the angrier he became. His grip tightened. He exclaimed, "It's all this guy's fault that I didn't even have dinner. But there's still an issue. What do we do with her once we head out? Just abandon her at the base?" The big rat instantly responded, "No chance. Without us here, she will absolutely tear this entire base apart. At this point, the only choice we have is to bring along this troublemaker." As Core was setting out for the first time, she stood on the teleportation array, shuddering with fear. She instinctively grasped Io's tiny hand. Witnessing her state, Iso could only let out a helpless sigh. He then reached out and covered Core's eyes. After a blinding flash of purple light zipped by, when they reopened their eyes, they found themselves at Topin City's iconic spot, the Nightless Grand Lighthouse. Out of all the teleportation locations, Iso's favorite was this one in the Lighthouse District, because it provided the best view of all Golden City. Iso decided to hit up Camera's Gilded Avenue first to snag some regular clothes for Core. After all, her current experimental outfit was way too flashy. The big rat chimed in, "That's a posh shopping district. No need to deck her out in designer clothes. Besides, we've mostly blown through the cash we lifted from the bank." Iso replied, "Exactly for that reason, we need to hit that spot even more. This isn't just about shopping. We're scouting for our next big heist. If we don't level up our look, how can we fit into those upscale joints?" After saying this, he scooped Core up and jumped down. However, they seriously underestimated Core's knack for chaos. It was her first time seeing the outside world, and she was intrigued by everything. Just as Iso plopped down on a bench waiting for the big rat to grab some hot dogs, he heard a nearby kid shout. Yet, they drastically underestimated Core's knack for causing chaos. Experiencing the outside world for the first time, "Mommy, look at that big sister. She's climbing so high." This made Iso chuckle. What kind of fool would try to climb the camera statue? It wasn't just a high-security patrol area, they were also in a key enforcement period for heroes. Suddenly, an alarming thought hit him. This was ridiculous. Looking up, he saw it was indeed that fool, Core, scaling the statue. Even though Iso was shouting his lungs out from below, Core, who was climbing with wild enthusiasm, didn't hear him at all. On his way back, the big rat spotted a swarm of Security Patrol Bureau officers barreling towards Iso's direction. What was going on here? He had only been gone a minute. How did they manage to stir up such a ruckus? The big rat knew that unauthorized climbing of the camera statue was serious business. Getting caught meant a year in the slammer. He suddenly had a flash of brilliance. If he just pretended to be a bystander and slipped away, it wouldn't be on him. After all, as a villain, backstabbing teammates was just part of the game. The patrol officers shouted, "Miss, if you don't descend, we'll take aggressive action." Just then, Iso tossed a flash grenade into the air. The big rat seized his chance and used his tail to snag a small knife. He sliced through the belts of all the patrolling officers and declared, "You take her and go. Let me, the selfless villain, cover your escape." Iso quipped, "Really? I just spotted someone pretending to be a bystander ready to ditch us." The officers fumbled to give chase, tripping over their own pants as Iso and crew had already disappeared without a trace. At that moment, Iso leaned against a glass display, trying to catch his breath. He had meant to lecture Core, but ended up being on the receiving end. The manager of Golden Family chimed in, "Keep your filthy hands off. This display is made from firefly crystal. If you mark it, you'll never be able to pay for it." Iso laughed in response. The big rat said, "This window gets dirty easily. What's the plan?" The next second, the big rat caught on and stuck out his tongue, licking the display window wildly. Watching this unfold, the manager erupted, yelling, "Can't a few of you grasp human language?" Iso laughed at the big rat's playful remark, "This window is going to get dirty. What are we going to do?" Instantly, the big rat got the hint and eagerly licked the display window. Observing this, the manager erupted with fury, exclaiming, "Can't you lot understand a word of human language?" But he quickly silenced his next thoughts as the hefty rat was pulling out a stack of big bills, slapping them one by one on his spit. Iso said, "Apologies for messing up your firefly crystal, but your tip is glued to it." At that moment, the manager's expression flipped, exclaiming, "Oh my, what's dirty or clean? It's just a splash of saliva. I'd chow down on it if I had to. Please." 3 distinguished guests strolled in first. The instant he caught sight of Core's face, the manager was blown away as he had never encountered such flawless beauty. He hadn't looked closely outside moments ago and thought she was merely some wild girl. Little did he know she was actually a stunningly gorgeous woman. But then he broke into a pitiful expression. What a shame. Such a stunner is chained to this young rogue. Core was ushered into the changing room by 2 attendants, yet after a full 20 minutes, she still hadn't emerged. At this point, a shop assistant peeked in and said, "This young lady won't let us help her change. Please come check." On hearing this, Iso caught sight of Core shivering in the corner of the fitting room. Thankfully, after some reassuring words, Core finally followed Iso's orders. At first, he was pretty impatient after the long wait. However, each time Core stepped out, Iso's irritation eased a notch. He hadn't imagined this girl would rock formal dresses so perfectly. In this moment, the manager stood by respectfully, explaining, "This outfit is called Scarlet Knight, priced at 159,990 gold. Just barely acceptable, but doesn't hit my standards. This outfit is Sacred Pistol, priced at 299,990 gold. While this design is unique enough, it lacks a touch of dignity. This outfit is called Golden Empress, priced at 339,990 gold. This one is the gem of our store, modeled after the gown of the previous Golden Empire Empress." Just as he finished, a sleek limousine abruptly halted outside the door. 2 men exited the vehicle first. They laid a carpet from the door straight into the shop. Witnessing this sight, the manager gasped. He had entirely forgotten that the Black Palace's young miss was scheduled to arrive tonight. He quickly pushed the 3 into the fitting room. "I must ask the 3 esteemed guests to stay hidden in the fitting room for the moment," he implored. "Do not step out until the Black Palace's young miss leaves, or I'll face punishment, and so will you." As the car door gradually opened, a barefoot teen girl emerged. It was the eldest daughter of the Black Palace family, Black Palace Wakana. Wakana's first words as she stepped out were that her feet felt cold. Hearing this, one of the guards admitted his oversight. Then, he unsheathed the fire blade from his waist. With a swift motion, he created a wall of flames along the path of the carpet and declared, "Young miss, please proceed." At that moment, the manager hustled to the store entrance to welcome them. Wakana stated, "I heard this year's limited edition crafted by Magic Scissors, Lilith, is available here. Show me." The manager responded, "We've turned away all other female customers eager to see it. We're just waiting for you, young miss, to come try it on personally." Hiding in the fitting room, the hefty rat asked uncertainly, "The Black Palace, young miss they're referencing couldn't be that Black Palace, could it? The Black Palace, young miss they're mentioning couldn't possibly be that Black Palace, could it? Could the Black Palace, young lady they mentioned, be that Black Palace?" Iso carefully opened a crack to peek, then confirmed it was indeed the Black Palace family, one of the globe's elite. The big rat remained skeptical, questioning, "How is that even possible? Don't the world's elite always stay in Golden City's Golden District? That's their paradise where they reign supreme. Why would they show up here?" But Iso retorted that even paradise can get dull. Without commoners around, how could noble superiority shine? Just as Wakana was trailing behind the manager toward the exhibition zone, she abruptly halted. It turned out they had run out of black gold carpet. Hearing this, Akatenu snapped angrily. "You knew the young lady was visiting the commoner district, yet you didn't prepare enough black gold carpet? The young lady hates wearing shoes. Were you hoping she'd walk barefoot on the filthy ground?" Witnessing this, the 2 attendants knelt, continually pleading for forgiveness. But Akatengu was not going to let them off. asserting, "After such a grave mistake, you should know what's next." Listening to this, the two subordinates instantly broke into a cold sweat, aware that they were facing severe blade heart force as punishment. Then, shaking with fear, they drew their daggers from their sides. Just when the blade tips were about to stab their chests, the entire blade shattered into countless particles. It was Wakana's right guard, Kamiku, who had intervened. He stated, "Buddhist principles of compassion reject killing and end violence." Just when the two servants thought they had dodged a bullet, Kamiku struck them with his Zen staff, declaring, "The death penalty can be evaded, but the living penalty is unavoidable. You two will now serve as the young lady's human carpet." Watching this unfold, even the big rat looked away in discomfort. "Are all world nobles this stuck up?" A smirk appeared on Iso's face. He mused, "This is the perfect chance to snag the Black Palace young lady. After all, world nobles hardly ever step foot outside the Golden District." The big rat cursed that Iso had lost it. Normally, robbing banks and challenging city heroes was one thing. Kidnapping a world noble? Are you bored with how chill life is? But Iso shot back. Those past incidents were just minor. "To carve our name into the history books, we need to stir up some serious trouble," the big rat declared. "Every world noble carries over 1,000 years of legacy and unimaginable strength. Golden City is our playground, but for them, it's nothing more than a toy for their amusement." Iso grinned slightly and remarked, "So, the second most notorious villain in Golden City, Dr. Madrat, won't dare to mess with world nobles." The big rat replied, "This is provocation. I just won't risk it. But if I were to challenge them, I'd need to come fully prepared." Just as the disagreement escalated, a terrified shout suddenly broke out from outside. It turned out when the manager was presenting a new dress to the young miss of the Black Palace, he never anticipated the gown worth over 100 million would be shredded into pieces. The manager fell to the ground, trembling in fear. Wakana exclaimed, "This was the dress you saved just for me." Seeing this, Akatangu had already drawn his blade, poised to commence a massacre at a single command from the miss. Kamiku shook his head internally. "This time, even Buddha wouldn't be able to bail you out." Wakana asked coldly, "Tell me, who did this?" The manager was trembling, barely stuttering. "How on earth could I have that kind of guts?" Iso instantly recognized the filthy rat who had gnawed at it. He aimed for some petty sabotage to infuriate the stuck-up manager. Hearing the ruckus outside, Kor felt a curious urge to peek out. As a result, she tripped over her dress, accidentally shoving Eso in front. At that moment, the manager was clinging to any chance for survival. He had no clue who the culprit was, but, to save his own skin, he falsely accused, "It's him. This guy did it." As Iso suddenly lost it, Akatenu seized him, questioning, "Was this you?" Unexpectedly, Iso boldly took the blame. Akatenu was taken aback by the kid's audacity, stating, "Well done. I despise kids like you who stir up trouble." Just as Akatenu reached out to attack Iso, he silently readied a weapon in his right hand, poised for action at any second. But then, a chilling voice interrupted. "Stop, Akatenu. I quite admire how you altered this dress." Both the big rat and the manager were left dumbfounded. Even Iso questioned his sanity. Akatenu replied, "But young miss, he damaged your gown. Shouldn't we at least take a finger?" Wakana replied, "Do I need to say that again, Akatenu?" Akatenu responded, "I wouldn't dare." Despite the young miss's decision, Akatenu still issued a menacing warning, "You better watch yourself." Iso pondered if he should use dragon spider toxin grenades for a swift takedown or go for harmless grenades to relish the pleasure of torment. He couldn't have predicted that Wakana's next words would make him quiver. "I know who you are and what you're after. The moment I walked in, you already had that plan, didn't you?" The big rat in the shadow felt paralyzed with fear. Did she sense their presence earlier? Wakana approached Iso, then said, "You're just an apprentice clerk here, tired of being ordinary. You were aware of my visit to the store tonight. To get my attention, you meticulously tore that dress just to grab my focus, right?" Iso, hearing this, sighed in relief but was intrigued by her confidence. Wakana stated, "I've deduced everything correctly, haven't I? Even though your intentions are questionable, considering you had the audacity to risk everything for my attention, I offer you a chance. Kneel and kiss my feet, and I'll make an exception to allow you to serve me." The guards were stunned. This was the first time the miss had allowed a male to kiss her feet. Those who had long served her had never received such treatment. Wakana anticipated that Iso would kneel in gratitude, shedding tears of joy. She even contemplated if Iso kissed too fervently, whether she should stomp on his head or simply kick him to the side. But Iso wrinkled his nose in disgust, declaring, "Who wants to kiss your filthy feet?" The moment he uttered these words, everyone held their breath in shock. They couldn't believe this guy bold enough to say such things. Iso continued, "Your family is so wealthy. Why not get yourself some shoes? Walking barefoot stinks for everyone else. Besides, continually going barefoot can lead to plantar fasciitis." The big rat thought, "It's over. This fool is only adding fuel to the fire." This was the first time in her life that anyone had spoken to Wakana like this. She bit her lip hard. This was the first moment in her life that anyone had ever spoken to Wakana like this. She bit her small mouth hard, attempting to hold back her tears, but ultimately, they still fell against her will. She declared, I spray perfume on my feet every day. They don't smell. After that, she swung her hand to strike ISO. In reality, ISO had intentionally pushed her buttons. He mapped everything out. At the moment her slap aimed for him, he janked her in, then released powerless grenades to send her 2 guards reeling. But just when Wakana was ready to hit ISO, Core appeared behind ISO out of nowhere and caught Wakana's hand. The big rat turned around to discover that Core, who had just been there, vanished. 8 New was the first to react. He said, "Quickly remove your filthy hand from our young miss." Observing Core remaining still, Akatengu prepared to swing his blade when Wakana commanded him to halt. Akatengu was utterly baffled, saying, "Young miss, she was about to strike you." Wakana replied, "She wasn't striking me. She was defending the boy behind her." Hearing this, Iso was initially taken aback. Could she have seen Korra's connection with him in just one glance? Her next comment eased Iso's mind. "You've taken an interest in this boy too and want to hold on to him, right?" Akatengu felt directly embarrassed at the miss's words, her face burning red. She had no clue what the young miss read every day. Noticing Korra remained silent, Wakana couldn't help but grow suspicious. Had she already fallen for this boy? She boldly declared, "From your attire and demeanor, I can see you're not from a peasant's background. But regardless, I can't simply hand over something I've set my eyes on. State your price." Before Korra could even open his mouth, Iso interjected, "You should be the one stating a price." While Wakana was still puzzled, Iso placed his gas mask on. He said, "What it means is that you've been captured by the top villain of Goden, Baron Eso." Even though Akatengu acted swiftly and drew his blade to rush over, it was still too late. The powerless grenade had already exploded at her feet without any warning, and no matter how formidable the 2 guards were, their power remained unactivated. By the time the noxious gas settled, Wakana had slipped away without leaving a single clue. After snatching the young miss of the Black Palace family, the big rat babbled on incessantly, fully aware that fun times were over. A relentless chase awaited them. Iso urged calmness. The harmless grenade he tossed was actually a tweaked version combined with a hippocampal neuron disruption device. It would mess with the memories of anyone who breathed it in. The 2 bodyguards would be left dazed, unable to recall their own faces. Sure enough, at that moment, the 2 guards in the Golden family shop still hadn't regained their senses. Kemiku had a hunch that it was that white-haired kid behind it, but Akatengu pointed out something off about his gaze. It was clearly a chubby kid with yellow hair and freckles. Meanwhile, Wakana had already been whisked away to the base by Iso. Even though it was their first attempt at child napping, they did their utmost to project a sinister vibe. However, Korra's sweetly innocent look shattered the dark mood they tried so hard to build. They believed the Black Palace, young miss would be terrified, yet she defiantly stuck out her tongue to dismiss the gag, taunting them right back. "You guys fancy yourselves the top villains in Golden City, but look at you can't even tie a gag right." Both Iso and the big rat were utterly clueless about what was happening. What was happening? Why wasn't she even a bit scared? While they bickered over who's responsible for tying the rope, Wakana had already freed herself and vanished. When they turned around, they found her lounging on the sofa, munching on chips. Even Korra had fallen for her chip bribe. Watching this unfold, Iso picked up his handgun and pressed it against her forehead, declaring, "Set straight who you are playing the hostage. If not, I won't hesitate to make you face the horrors of alchemy." Wakana replied, intrigued, "Is your alchemy really scarier than what our Black Palace families can dish out? Tell me, for example, would trapping a criminal in a spread eagle pose in a deep pit be more horrifying than stacking thin iron plates on them endlessly? At first, they'll feel nothing, but as the layers of iron grow, their bones and organs will face ruin, or applying a nearly molten iron helmet to a freshly shaved head. Of course, the worst part is first making 12 small holes in someone's body, then infesting the inside with centipedes, forcing the victim to witness their body transform into a nesting ground for them and their eggs." The big rat interrupted, "Hypothetically speaking, if we sent you back now, the Black Palace family wouldn't hit us with these few punishments, right?" Furious, Eso snapped, "What nonsense are you saying? You think we're a charity for lost children?" The big rat countered, "I said it was purely hypothetical." Upon hearing Wakana suggest they might not face those punishments, the big rat sighed in relief. Wakana continued, "Because those are among the most minor private punishments in the Black Palace family, meant for cases of insignificant physical contact with me without consent. In your case, the private punishment you'd endure would leave you utterly despising the creator for letting you exist." The big rat froze in fear. Then Wakana pivoted back to seriousness, stating, "I won't hold it against you for kidnapping me. In fact, I can offer you a massive payday, but you have to agree to do one thing for me." The big rat, puzzled, asked, "What's that?" Wakana answered, "Let me join your ranks and become one of you." This left both of them speechless. "What would a prestigious daughter from the Black Palace family want with us?" she replied. "Because I'm incredibly bored. If I team up with you, we can go out and commit crimes together while you create weapons that can immobilize Akatengu and Kamiku. I know you have the skills. Most importantly, I can be your financial support from the shadows." While saying this, she flashed a high-class black card. The big rat instantly recognized it as Golden City's elite credit card. while Iso sensed she was definitely hiding more details. Wakana said, "It's refreshing talking to intelligent people. The extra condition is, you must follow my lead from now on." Surprisingly, Iso shoved the black card away with a scoff, saying, "Keep dreaming." But the big rat replied eagerly, "Sure thing, we're all ears for you. Just curious how much money you're willing to throw our way. When's the transfer happening? I have a feeling today's gonna be epic." Iso shot back fiercely, "You're the source of all trouble. Where's your pride? Who gave you the right to decide for me?" The big rat chortled, "This is our golden opportunity. With cash, we can mastermind some astonishing wrongdoings." Iso replied, "But I can't agree with you. The Persad family doesn't take orders from anyone or accept handouts." He then commanded the big rat to inject her with dragon spider venom, restrain her again, and send a ransom note to the Black Palace family in 24 hours. But unexpectedly, Wakana uttered, "That's pointless. You won't squeeze any ransom from them by kidnapping me." In the Black Palace family, dignity and interests are more crucial than any single member. Once kidnapped, you're tossed aside, like yesterday's news. They won't bargain with their captors. Their focus will be on tracking down the culprits, display the bodies for all to see, showcasing the family's dominance. Hearing this, even the big rat felt a pang of remorse. These elite families really lack humanity, refusing to entertain her offer. Wakana continued, "I can offer you a massive payout and won't boss you around, but you have to do one favor for me. Help me eliminate the current head of the Black Palace family." "Black Palace you?" Azo turned abruptly, stunned. "But Black Palace you is your father?" Wakana replied. "Exactly, he's my father. So what makes Golden City's greatest villain afraid?" Meanwhile, a woman was left bare and imprisoned in a water vat for 3 days and nights, desperately pleading with the man to end her suffering immediately, fearing the Black Palace family's most brutal torture was yet to come. First, they insert 12 tiny holes into a person's flesh, then nurture leeches inside their body, forcing the victim to helplessly watch as their body turns into a breeding ground for centipedes. Since Wakana couldn't protect their master, Akatenu and Kamiku were made unwilling test subjects for torturous advancements by the fuming Black Palace family head. As the family head prepared to pour the leech-filled container into the water, Akatenu shook with fright, hastily begging for mercy, praying for another chance to save the young miss. But Black Palace you scoffed. "You can't even recall what the kidnappers looked like, yet you dare talk about rescue." Akatangu was completely at her wit's end, begging to make amends through blade heart force. She feared those leeches burrowing through her entire being. Just as the family head was poised to unleash the leeches, a familiar voice at the entrance halted Black Palace you. "Stop right there, father. I'm all right." He stared at Wakana, who appeared completely unharmed. The father joyfully tossed the container aside, rushing to envelop his daughter in a hug, exclaiming, "I'm so relieved to see you safe." Later, Wakana sat barefoot in the courtyard, gazing at the moon. At this point, Akatangu was respectfully kneeling behind her, stating, "Young miss, thank you for rescuing us." Wakana remained silent. Instead, she pulled out a bag of chips from her robe and handed it to Akatangu, saying, "They're super tasty. You should give them a try." Akatangu caught a chip, pausing for a moment. The Black Palace family's rules strictly forbade commoner junk food from being consumed within their walls. Akatangu queried, "Miss, where did you get these?" Witnessing this scene, Wakana sharply yelled, "I told you to eat, so just eat. What's with all these pesky questions?" Seeing the boss lady fuming, Akatangu quickly shoved a chip into her mouth, but within seconds, she was taken aback. Turns out, these commoner snacks were incredibly tasty. As she devoured them wildly, she also inquired about how the young miss managed to escape from her captors. To this, Wakana merely smirked and said, "That's classified." Akatangu felt a bit perplexed. She could sense that the young miss had changed slightly upon her return this time. Meanwhile, the trio was celebrating at a restaurant, feasting on dishes they previously couldn't dream of affording. The big rat chowed down while chuckling. He figured Iso would turn down Wakana's offer to eliminate her dad, but to his surprise, he went along with it. Iso stated, "She offered us a whopping amount to help her take out her father, not mine. Why would I say no?" The big rat burst into laughter. "Even if asked to take out your own dad, you wouldn't even know who he is. How would you go about it?" Upon hearing this, Iso felt a bit defeated. Since his birth, he hadn't laid eyes on his own father. His mother once told him that if he revived the Persad clan and took Golden City, he'd learn everything. The big rat remarked, "Forget about that. Let's just fill our stomachs with this banquet first." But the miss of the Black Palace family actually handed over 20 million gold pounds in advance. That's more than we'd rake in robbing banks 10 times over. Plus, she let herself be caught by us on purpose. I didn't realize the Black Palace family was so stringent with their direct descendants. From the age of 5, they have to learn combat skills and assassination techniques. Iso chimed in, "Exactly. If the surveillance footage hadn't picked it up, we wouldn't have realized what she was up to at all. She hid 26 blades and 13 needles in her sleeves and hem. She had every chance to quietly take us out. But why did she choose not to?" The big rat curiously picked at his teeth while musing. "Did you forget she wanted to keep you around? It's clear she wants to be your sponsor, thus she's trying a different approach to hold on to you." Hearing this, Iso felt revulsion, retorting, "If she wants to be taken care of, I can shove her into a gift box and send her to the Black Palace family with her essentials. My partnership with her is strictly about eliminating Black Palace U. I'm not interested in any relationship with her. After all, she turned my kidnapping plan into a laughing stock." But the big rat shot back, "Don't be like that. If we can eliminate Black Palace U and help her seize control of the Black Palace family, we won't have to stress over operational funds ever again. Remember, you got your revenge before letting her off, right?" Turns out, before releasing Wakana, Iso had also played with her, torturing her by tickling her feet. Knowing she had a strong aversion to shoes, Iso decided to teach her a lesson using his customized insect-tailed tickle grass, developed from dogtail grass and bristle worms. The itchiness from this concoction when touching skin skyrocketed, and if it hit sensitive spots like the soles or armpits, the itchiness went through the roof. After an entire hour of this agony, Wakana was practically drooling from the overwhelming itchiness, body twitching, pondering how even now, her feet still felt like they were on fire. Bashfully, she covered her face with the blanket, cursing Iso silently. Yet, what none of them realized was that the Golden family's manager had already stormed into the police station to file a report. Due to the unpaid clothes for the Big Rat and Core, along with the wrecked gown, the manager ended up losing over 800,000. Still, the police officer was puzzled by his account. Given that the manager's statement contradicted the two guards' versions, he excitedly declared, "I can't figure out why they're lying, but I'm certain one of the two suspects was a black-haired boy with bangs covering his eyes. The other was a shady rat person." Just then, a girl burst through the door and exclaimed, "I heard there's a poor soul who lost 800,000 in a single night. Where's he at?" The police officer, caught off guard by the door, said, "Who are you? The interrogation room isn't a place for just anyone to waltz in." But before he could finish, the girl flashed her credentials. She stated, "I'm not just anyone. I'm your new chief, Baba Paliwa." She was here to delve into the bank robbery case and the kidnapping of the Black Palace's young miss. However, the man didn't buy it at all since there was no notification about a new chief being assigned. Responding, Baba Paliwa smirked, "Okay, I see you need a little charm to loosen up. Since you're somewhat attractive, I'll grant you a chance to touch me once, but after that, you'll have to be my loyal dog." The man felt both embarrassed and furious. Upon leaving, he slammed the door behind him. Just as he was headed to the guard to ask who let this lunatic in, Captain Bullhead popped up behind him and said, "Mark, the new chief just mentioned wanting to visit interrogation room number 1. Did you see her, Mark?" Terrified, he misheard. He questioned, "You're telling me that person is our precinct's new chief? You must be kidding." Unexpectedly, the captain replied, "Seriously, Bullhead folks don't joke around." At that moment, some guys from outside came rushing in, asking, "Did you guys catch a glimpse of the new chief? She just handed me candy. I feel blessed to work here. From this day forward, delivering water to the chief's office is my job. Nobody better try to compete with me." Noticing his subordinates being so dismissive of the new chief, Captain Bullhead warned, "You all better not underestimate this new chief. Ever since Chief Homok turned into a slime, the cozy position of Lighthouse District Precinct Chief has been highly sought after by all the precincts. Yet, headquarters kept stalling the official appointment notice. This situation has dragged on for a year now. Until today, headquarters abruptly dropped this chief named Baba Paliwa here. I had a guy from the headquarters archive room dig into her service record, and the result," Captain Bullhead paused. Everyone leaned in, eager to hear what he found out. The Bullhead had lowered his head and whispered. The result was shocking. The archive room had zero record of her. This meant she was likely specially transferred here by some significant figure from outside the Security Patrol Bureau. But just as he wrapped up, Baba Paliwa appeared out of thin air and asked, "Which significant figure would that be?" Everyone jumped in surprise when they saw her there. Quickly, they arranged themselves against the wall and responded in unison, "Chief, we're ready for your orders." Baba Paliwa clasped her hands behind her back and addressed the group, "Relax. I'm not like those stuffy old bureaucrats. My approach to work can be summed up in just 2 words. Lively, enthusiastic, and unique." The chubby guy next to her piped up, "That's 3 words, not 2. Unexpectedly, Baba Paliwa caught that comment, but instead of fuming, she commended him, saying, "This patrol officer was bold enough to point out my slip-up. Such bravery and challenging authority deserves recognition." Then Baba Palo wrapped her arms around the chubby guy, and he braced himself for a kiss from the chief. Instead, Baba Palua just slapped a lollipop sticker on his cheek. She then announced that the cases involving the White Queen Bank heist, the Black Palace young ladies kidnapping, and the Golden family dress theft would all be tackled together, promising that any patrolman who provided vital clues to crack the cases would earn a date with her as soon as she finished speaking. Instantly, a horde of subordinates bolted outside without a second glance. The captain even unleashed his ultimate move, the Mad Bull Sprint, leaving everyone trailing behind. The guys behind him shouted, "Boss, don't you hate scrawny little human gals?" The captain replied, "What do you know? I'm just eager to crack the case." Once they were gone, Baba Palua held up a picture and declared, "The guy who disobeyed the security order. You bet I'm going to catch you." The photo clearly captured ISO flying while holding Core. If she hadn't been at Camera Plaza at that moment, she might have been completely deceived. Meanwhile, at Golden City Grand Theater, ISO strutted in through the front door with Core by his side. The big rat snapped his fingers, breaking the attendant's gaze. Warning, if you keep staring at her backside, I'll scoop out your eyeballs and string them along. The attendant, terrified, quickly apologized. Once inside, another attendant remarked, "Did we forget to check their tickets? What do you think you're checking for? Didn't you see that woman's swag and attire? She's definitely a young lady from a prominent family," but they clearly had no clue that ISO and his pals were ticket dodgers. ISO patted Core's head, complimenting her earlier performance, but the big rat looked skeptical and stated, "Next time, you should be the sidekick. Don't think you can always make me play that role." ISO had come to the theater to map out the city's institutions since Black Palace U would be attending Friday's performance. While ISO and the big rat were deep in conversation, Core was distracted by the numerous posters lining the wall. When she reached the main hall entrance, she halted instantly, for the face on the poster was her biological father. In that instant, a flood of painful memories surged through her mind. It wasn't until ISO and the big rat finished drafting the theater's layout that they noticed Core, who had quietly followed them, had vanished. On the other side, as Core reached out to touch the portrait, a familiar yet foreign voice echoed from behind her. "Excuse me, are you one of my fans?" It was the actor Mel, the theater star and Core's father. Years apart had dulled his memory, and he no longer recognized his daughter, whose looks had transformed completely and mistook her for one of his admirers. Her father continued, "I've heard that Golden City is the heart of this world. It was only after witnessing it firsthand that I truly grasped its charm and allure. Performing here is genuinely the luckiest break of my life. By the way, may I inquire about the name of this lovely young lady?" Hearing this, Core felt an overwhelming mix of nerves and anticipation. After a brief pause, she finally gathered the courage to respond. Despite her best effort to speak clearly, the simple word "daddy" still came out, muffled and unclear. At that moment, a little girl dashed into Mel's embrace, joyfully calling him daddy. This sudden development completely stunned Core, leaving her paralyzed in shock. It turned out this girl was born to her father and stepmother, named Mello. The stepmother chimed in, "All right, Mello, there's someone here." "Don't forget your manners around your father," Mello replied. "It's okay. My dad is a world-famous playwright." Mel was quite affectionate with her as well, saying, "No worries, and this young lady is one of my fans." But just as he finished his sentence, he realized that Core, who had just stood there moments ago, had vanished without a trace. Observing the joyful moment between this family of three, Core felt no desire to intrude. At that instant, a heavy rain started pouring outside the theater, yet Core walked straight out with a stormy expression. The attendant was taken aback by her demeanor, knowing that those who came to such places were not someone to be trifled with. The attendant attempted to offer Core an umbrella, but she was too lost in her own thoughts to notice. Heartbroken, she wandered into a neon-lit alley. Inside, girls dressed elaborately were engaging in all sorts of shady dealings. Core barged through without a care, oblivious to anyone she might collide with. This chaos caught the attention of the women in the alley. One woman kindly advised her, "The socialite look doesn't exactly fit in on Dark Star Street." She mistook Core for a rival vying for their business. After a while, Core stumbled into a lonely corner and crouched down, racked with pain, clutching her head. She kept whispering, "Who am I?" The boss of the alley noticed her and said, "Is it a poor little girl lost on her way home? You seem quite fortunate. How about joining us and becoming part of Chidori?" With that, she reached to remove Core's dress, clearly eyeing the expensive outfit. She asserted, "At Chidori, we can't allow personal possessions, so you'll need to shed that outfit and contribute it to the cause." Little did she expect that as soon as her hand made contact with Core's body, Core seized her wrist. It was the first time the woman encountered anyone daring enough to retaliate against her. With a menacing tone, she warned, "You better release me before I lose my temper." But Core replied that this outfit was a gift from her master, and she couldn't part with it. The woman chuckled mockingly, "Are you really clueless about the situation?" Then she slapped Core across the face. 2.5 minutes later, Core found herself beaten and bruised. Yet, her tenacity held strong. She still refused to take it off. At this juncture, the woman ceased caring about the clothes. All she wanted now was to teach Core a harsh lesson. In the next heartbeat, several sharp feathers suddenly materialized in her hands, saying, "If you won't remove it, I'll do it for you." The feathers sliced through Core's skin as effortlessly as darting blades. Meanwhile, the large rat had already followed the scent and was on the trail for clues about Core. ISO asked with a hint of impatience, "Can you pull this off or not?" The big rat shot back, "Stop chatting. Just keep up. Follow my lead." ISO agreed. "But you're not striding right now. You're crawling," ISO pointed out. They soon reached the alley where Core had slipped in. The big rat informed him, "Core's in there." Even though the downpour erased most scents, ISO claimed, "My nose still picked up a shred." Then let's move. What are we waiting for? The big rat urged. Hold up. Up ahead is Dark Star Street. That's the most wretched and disorderly spot lurking beneath the glitzy facet of the Lighthouse District. Getting lost anywhere is fine, but being lost on Dark Star Street could spell trouble. Iso disregarded the warning, saying, "Isn't it just a hangout for punks? Are you scared of them?" The big rat clarified, "This is the hideout of Chidori. Even the security forces of the Lighthouse District can't touch them. Everyone knows that rivalry among girls can be brutal. If one of them is perceived as better, she's going to get pounded by the rest." Core was knocked out cold by the boss, just because her dress was pricier than theirs at that moment. They dragged Core back to their lair. The boss remarked, "This newcomer is clueless about the rules. Proper discipline is a must." One woman chimed in, "She clearly knows the pain of love. You can see she's been heartbroken." Another burly woman sneered, "What a fool. Men are the grossest creatures. They deserve to be treated like dogs, right?" The men around, intimidated by their dominance, could only mutter, "Exactly, we're all trash." The boss then directed one of them, Crow, to be cautious. Use your soul-searching technique to probe her mind. After receiving the command, Crow knelt, extended his hand, and placed it gently on Core's head. As the technique began, Crow delved into Core's past. Initially, he witnessed her memories with Iso him playfully spanking her in scenes, showing him guiding her habits. Then came visions of her father, how he had sold her off as a kid, and how he embraced a new daughter. Then, the grim days within the Hellhound organization surfaced. A bunch of kidnapped kids were stuck in cages together. Daily, they'd offer food to just one kid. To eat, they had to fight each other. The strongest got to eat. The children battled fiercely for their meals. One girl shoved Core down, then jumped in to tussle with the boys. The food switched between the kids' hands. Just as a boy thought he had snagged the food, a girl from earlier smashed a rock over his head, ending his life right there. She picked up the bun and cautioned Core, "I'm not into hitting girls, so don't stir up trouble." A man also warned her, "If you can't fight for your share, you won't last here. You're just a pack of hellhounds. Your existence only serves to fulfill your master's orders. Without commands, you can't just lie down. As long as there's breath in you, you must keep crawling and drag your foes down to hell." Only then did Crow realize something was terribly off. Could this woman's identity be? Meanwhile, Iso and his crew had already snuck into Dark Star Street on the hunt for Core's location. They placed a container of venomous creatures on top of a man's head, demanding, "Speak up fast. Have you seen a gorgeous girl in a golden dress? Just a heads up, one of my vital experimental assets is missing, and frankly, I'm in a terrible mood." He gestured toward the desiccated corpse on the ground, drained dry by the poisonous insects, stating, "If you dare to lie to me, you're going to end up like him." The large rat started to sweat coldly, feeling repulsed. Despite the fact that Iso developed the biological brain mosquitoes, he found them revolting and had never put them to use until now. But today, he made an exception. The man, terrified, wet himself, exclaiming, "I've seen her. She was taken to the warehouse over there by our boss." Iso's face instantly twisted with anger as he insisted, "Get to the front and guide us." Upon their arrival, they were horrified by the sight before them. Bodies sprawled chaotically on the ground, each with hideous fatal wounds. Iso discovered that these people all had their throats sliced cleanly with a single blade. The big rat commented that his side was the same, but Iso sensed something was off. If Core had truly gone berserk, she would have used the thermal pressure steam. So why were these lethal wounds inflicted by sharp blades? At that moment, they heard a noise from behind the door. Someone was calling for help. It turned out their boss had played dead to avoid disaster. Iso rushed to see if the big rat could save her. The woman lay on the ground, in agony, blood pouring from her neck where she clutched it. The big rat recognized the tattoo now, saying, "She looks like the leader of Chidori. But why is she undressed? And what's up with her huge rear?" Iso snapped, "Quit the nonsense. Hurry and treat her, then interrogate her. If we delay, she'll really bite the dust." With the human tissue repair factor injected into her system, within 3 minutes, her neck wound began to heal automatically. Though she wasn't fully healed, she trembled and said, "Her blade was so swift, I couldn't see it at all." Iso questioned, "What exactly took place here? Were these people slain by a woman in a golden dress who acts foolish?" When the golden dress was mentioned, the woman appeared even more terrified, repeatedly insisting she had no idea. Those terrifying memories seemed like shadows she could never escape from. It turned out that when Crow invaded Core's memories, she unintentionally unleashed another personality hidden within Core, the Hellhound. She grabbed Crow by the arm and with a mere flick, effortlessly broke it. Crow stumbled in agony on the floor. This shocking scene also frightened the others watching. Core seemed to transform into someone else entirely. Her formerly golden hair shifted into an eerie, deadly violet. Her once cute appearance vanished, replaced by a cold, deathly glare before the inevitable slaughter. Just then, 3 throwing knives soared through the air from a distance. Core managed to catch 2 in her bare hands and chomped down hard on the last one with her teeth. The exaggerated scene made the boss's skin crawl. She had never anticipated Core to be this formidable. The others still underestimated the situation, barking, "This is our turf. You better let Crow go right now." But Crow's next statement had them all stunned. She's from Hellhound. Only then did everyone spring into action, exclaiming, "Wait, you mean she's that notorious Hellhound who dared to step foot in the Golden District to eliminate world nobles?" As soon as that hit the air, the boss dropped to one knee and declared, "Let Crow go. Just tell us your terms." The muscular woman resisted. "Sis, the Hellhound might not be as fierce as the whispers claim. Plus, we have numbers on our side." The boss sharply interjected, "Enough." Then turning to Core, she added with respect, "We'll safeguard your business secrets for sure. After all, we're just as unhappy with the Security Patrol Bureau and those world nobles." Yet, Core demanded she disrobe. The boss was taken aback by Core's lascivious request. Her face flushed crimson, but disobedience was not an option. Not until Core left did the muscular woman lament, "Sis, this is beyond humiliating. She instructed you to strip, and you actually went through with it. The Chidori have never faced such disgrace since we formed." Crow was quaking, saying, "Be quiet. If the boss hadn't complied, we'd all be dead by now." Victoria took a long drag and remarked, "I've realized you have the smallest chest among us, Chidori." Haha. The muscular woman shot back, "What's the deal with having a big chest? You can't even roll over in bed. What's so impressive about that?" The boss, frustrated by their bickering, snapped, "Instead of wasting time squabbling, hurry up and find me some clothing." As this was happening, Crow inquired, puzzled, "Boss, I still don't get it. Given Hellhound's reputation and her past conduct, she would never allow us to go free. So why?" Before she could finish, another voice chimed in, "That's true. With Hellhound's methods, none of you would walk away alive." Everyone turned toward the voice, questioning, "Who are you?" It was Doberman, the most lethal assassin from the Hellhound organization. However, all they received in response was Doberman's merciless blade, so swift that the muscular woman had her throat sliced before she could react. As she perished, her last raspy words escaped, "Boss, get out of here." But evidently, their strength was on entirely different levels. Even the chance to flee was a privilege. The others fell with a single strike, leaving only the boss standing alone. Doberman looked down at her, assessing, "Are all the underground gangs in Golden City this week? Taking you out is simpler than catching a rat." Only then did Iso and the big rat piece together what had unfolded before their arrival. The big rat muttered, "So it wasn't Ultimate Calamity who did it. Yet, Hellhound is incredibly powerful. How could Ultimate Calamity not defeat Home Milk back then?" However, Iso was unfazed by any of this. The sole thing consuming him was why Core's hair had returned to purple and how her former memories had resurfaced. The Cocoon of Despair host experiment had been executed thousands of times, and this abnormal outcome had never once emerged. Just as they geared up to leave and pursue Core, the boss trembled as she clutched the big rat's shirt, pleading, "Please, I'm begging you. Save them. If you can bring them back, the Chidori will serve you from now on." Hearing this, the big rat's interest piqued, stating, "You said that yourself." He pried open one victim's eye and noted that the pupils had already dilated. Regular tactics were no longer an option. If they truly needed rescuing, only that method could be employed. But before he could take any action, Eso yanked him outside. Anxiety gripped him as he urgently needed to find Core and bring her back. If not, the most significant experimental asset to date would be completely wasted. The big rat declared, "I understand your anxiety, but don't panic just yet. Let me leave the antidote with her." He tossed a small box to the boss. Inside lay a vial of green medicine. The big rat reminded her to give each of them an injection. If the bodies started to rot, there would truly be no hope. Meanwhile, across the bridge, Core was meticulously checking her body, realizing that her left arm, right eye, and heart were all unharmed. It must have been that boy from her past who saved her. She just couldn't fathom why she had acted so foolishly back then. At that moment, Doberman caught sight of her, saying, "Long time no see, Yorkshire report. How did the assassination of the Black Palace's head go awry? And why did you vanish for so long?" Core replied, "While infiltrating the Black Palace estate, I was mysteriously poisoned. Then, I encountered a swordsman, claiming to be the Dawn Dusk sword, and he cut off my left arm and leg." Upon hearing this, Doberman began to evaluate whether Core was speaking the truth. "The Dawn Dusk sword was the strongest swordsman from the Destiny Order and a city legend," he remarked, "rank 5 among heroes. It's understandable you couldn't surpass him, but considering your severed limbs, how are they perfectly intact now?" Core wasn't evasive, saying, "Somebody rescued me. I have no clue about the specifics. I was in a coma the entire time." Seeing her honesty, Doberman stated, "All right, since you're still alive, resume the master's orders." Core knelt on one knee and replied, "Yes." But just at that moment, Eso, who had been in pursuit, arrived, surprising both of them. Eso proclaimed, "Now and forever, you will only have one master, and that is me." Doberman inquired about his identity. Core explained he was the one who saved her. Doberman then said, "He even repaired your vocal cords. Looks like he treats you quite well. You wouldn't betray your master for him, would you?" After Core's negative response, Doberman commanded her to eliminate him herself. This was the only way to prove her loyalty. After receiving the command, Core slowly approached Iso. Her eyes had transformed into a merciless crimson, saying, you shouldn't have followed me. At that moment, Iso removed his mask and smiled coolly, saying, I assure you, from the moment I saved you, you've been mine. If you don't come back with me willingly, you'll get a spanking. Surprisingly, at those words, Kor instinctively shielded her backside. Those haunting, embarrassing memories suddenly surged back, her cheeks flushed with anger, saying, shut up. With that, she extended her claws toward Iso just as another hand firmly gripped hers. The figure was none other than ultra-high-risk Subject 0, Lucille. Lucille sneered, back again, useless little girl. Today, we'll settle the score once and for all. Iso cautioned, don't use the dark plague virus on her. That will send the ultimate disaster spiraling out of control. If it happens again, I won't be able to save you, Lucille warned. Don't sweat it, little Iso. All known viruses in this realm can easily be transformed by the dark plague virus. Also, let me double check. As long as I can fend her off, you'll spend the night with me, right? Iso felt a mix of fury and embarrassment at this moment, retorting, if you keep yelling so loud, don't expect to come out again in the future. Then, he stepped up to Doberman with his arms crossed, declaring, it seems to completely settle the ownership of ultra-high-risk experimental subject 1, I'll have to wipe you hellhounds out. Doberman didn't take the kid before him seriously at all, responding, just a friendly heads up. Anyone standing within 5 meters of me can no longer be considered fully alive. The moment those words left his mouth, Kor immediately sensed something was off, saying, Doberman, hold up. But it was already too late. In a split second, Doberman struck Kor's neck with a blade. The next moment, Iso collapsed to the ground in agony, clutching his bleeding artery. Doberman remarked, kids are just kids. All they do is make noise. They lack any other abilities. But just as he completed his statement, a sharp dagger lunged towards his face. Doberman's quick reflexes parried it, responding, you better explain your actions right now, or I'll see it as betrayal. At this point, Kor couldn't even comprehend why her tears fell uncontrollably. Lucille stood there, bewildered at the sight. Wait, wasn't she being held by me? When she turned around, she noticed her arm had been severed at some point. She gazed at the detached limb on the ground, thinking to herself, impossible, Kor said. Didn't I tell you to wait a moment? She seemed to have tapped into another persona. Her right eye radiated waves of horrifying light. Doberman said, can I take this as you repaying that kid for saving you? But you should know Hellhound's rules. We cannot form feelings for anyone outside our master. Just then, Iso, who had just been near death, suddenly erupted with laughter. This event shook Doberman to his core. No one had ever survived one of his strikes. Iso said, sorry, I injected the cell proliferation factor ahead of time. Pretending to let you kill me was merely to see if Kor, with the Hellhound personality, still remembered me. If the current head of the Persad family, the sitting president of the Purity Research Society, could be taken down by outdated physical means, that'd be downright embarrassing. Then he waved his hand, saying, come on, return to your true master's side. But unexpectedly, he was met with a solid punch from Kor. Doberman was baffled. What's going on here? Why did Yorkshire suddenly go and attack him? Lucille, watching from the side, yelled anxiously, how dare you hit my little Iso? Once I get my arm back on, I'll come over and take you all down, Kor said icily. I'm not that golden-haired girl anymore. If you keep bothering me, I won't hold back. Hearing this, Iso chuckled, saying, but I don't think so. Then he pulled a toy bear from his chest, saying, for instance, you both cherish this little bear doll, right? Instead of becoming a mindless killing machine, why not let me give your life a greater purpose? Join me in using alchemy to reshape this painful world. That's a realm where you can keep those you cherish and who care for you close. Doberman interrupted sharply. Too bad. Even if such a realm exists, you'll never experience it. Pathetic, indecisive individuals who drown in their feelings aren't fit to be hellhounds. Right then, the bridge was fully encircled by his followers. He commanded, eliminate them all, with a careless wave of his hand. Everyone surged forward recklessly, one after the other. Iso remarked, what age are we in? Still relying on sheer numbers. But at least I've exposed the real fighting power of your group. Iso drew an alchemical gun from within his chest once more, declaring, now, let's erase them completely. He squeezed the trigger, and a violet projectile exploded from the barrel. The projectile instantly morphed into a myriad of tiny particles, reducing all the charging soldiers to mere ash. On the flip side, Lucille and her rage morphed directly into her true form, a colossal black dragon coiling above the bridge. The overwhelming sensation of pressure made even Doberman's hairs stand on end.